Chandler, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
So, where were you born?
I was born in Bossier City, Louisiana.
Where?
Bossier City.
Bossier City, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay, so not familiar. What is it close to as far as like a big town?
To be honest, I don't even know. I think it's north of Shreveport. I don't know. My family was always moving around, so I was born there, but we didn't even live there. We're driving through.
Really?
Yeah.
Literally, you were born driving through.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. And then my little brother, actually, my mom wanted him to be born there as well. And they lived in Fort Hood, Texas at the time.
Okay.
So like a few days before my mom was going to give birth to him, they went and stayed at a hotel just so he could be born with the same doctor.
So was it the doctor was the reason, or was there some other kind of...
I think it was the doctor and the Bossier City. She just liked it. Like my older sister was born there as well.
So how many siblings?
A lot.
Really?
I think 11 total now.
You have 11 brothers and sisters.
I'm one of 11, so technically 10.
10.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in the hierarchy of age?
Middle.
So you're right in the middle.
Yeah.
How many brothers and sisters?
Dude, I don't even know. Not all of them are... I have no full blood-related siblings.
Okay, so like moms and dads kind of just like...
Yeah, it's kind of
intermingled and...
Yeah, and then I also count my stepbrothers since I've grown up with them for a while.
Okay.
So I count them in there as well. So just a lot, I guess.
That's a lot of people, though. I mean, a lot of people. So are you guys all close? I mean, how does that work? I've come from being an only child, and
Yeah. So the best way I can equate it is like, sort of like whenever you have that many kids, you tend to be an only child. You get what I mean? And we're all kind of dispersed across the U.S. because we all live with our various parents and stuff.
Got it.
So like for example, I didn't even live with for a majority growing up, I didn't live with my mom or my dad. I lived with my brother's grandparents.
Your brother's grandparents.
And I was an only child living with them.
And are they your grandparents too?
No,
or
no relation at all. No.
How does that work? How did that come about? I'm curious. Like,
yeah,
hey,
so
like you're kind of adopting me without knowing you're adopting me.
Yeah, so my mom, I never met my dad.
Okay.
Until like last year, and he's pretty cool. But my mom, she lost my brother in custody.
Okay.
And then she lost me in like a custody battle with my stepdad. But my stepdad didn't want us. He just won the custody battle so that my mom didn't get us. And so he's like, all right, you're going to my parents.
So it was like more like a bitterness for each other that caused all this? And you guys were
just in the middle.
The pawns in the chess set.
Exactly.
Wow. That's interesting. I mean, shit.
It's hard to explain and like how it went about. Like I was actually talking to my mom about this the other day. And she goes, I was like, how do you even lose me in like a custody battle that like with a guy that doesn't even have any right to me? Like, how bad of a lawyer did you have? And she's like, oh, you were kidnapped. And I was like, I don't think that's a thing because you would come visit us like every summer and then return us. Like, who returns their kids to the kidnappers?
Yeah, it's a strange version of Stockholm Syndrome if I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
That doesn't really work.
Yeah, I don't get how it worked, but...
So, I don't know, up to you to answer the question or not, but what caused all of the chaos? Like, why, even being separated? I mean, because usually mom gets picked with the kids, right?
Yeah, my mom lost all her custody battles.
Yeah, that's I'm just like, how?
What originally happened was the way I could like equate it was my mom was dating this guy who was my stepdad who eventually got custody of us.
Okay.
And he molested my older sister.
Shit.
Right? And my mom, whenever the whole investigation was going down, defended him. And she was like, he didn't do that. And even though my older sister's like, yeah, he did. And I didn't know about this until like 2 years ago. And then whenever they went to their divorce and the custody and stuff,
okay,
she was like, yeah, he molested my daughter. And then the judge and the lawyers were like, but you said to the police that he didn't.
Okay. And
so she was like changing her story.
So she was just kind of working against herself by having stories that didn't match up and changing it over time. And
yeah.
Okay.
And she cheated on him, and her living situation was terrible. She was in and out of jobs. He worked for the military.
Okay. He was in the military?
Yeah, he was in the military, yeah.
Okay. Any of your siblings go into the armed forces?
I had an older stepbrother, technically. Yeah, he went to the Marines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you fall into comedy?
Now
that we know that there's a reason for you to be in comedy, I mean, you just gave me like a trickle of what I hear from so many people when it comes down. Like part of this podcast is you get to learn about comedians. There's always, at least for this, you're number 6 for how many people I've interviewed so far.
Mm-hmm.
Except for one, everybody else has had some sort of dark thing in the past that's kind of pushed them into comedy almost.
Oh yeah. So I grew up always moving around, but I kind of whenever we moved to Texas, we moved to Texas a couple times.
Okay.
But when we finally settled down in Texas, I made friends with all these guys, and these guys ended up being like local rappers.
Oh, cool.
And all of them were just like, you either need to do comedy or you need to do rap because your backstory is crazy. Like you need to be famous. And I was like, I don't even know how to do that.
I think you're on your way.
Apparently.
I mean, how long have you been doing comedy?
Stand-up comedy
yes.
Since September.
So you're not even a year into it?
No.
Okay. And prior to doing stand-up comedy, what kind of comedy were you, or what were you doing? Because you said stand-up comedy, right? So
yeah.
were you doing like sketch stuff, prank wars, whatever, like things like that?
My dream, and I don't know if it's still the dream anymore, but it kind of always was like I want to be kind of like a writer for like SNL or like a sketch comedy show, like something like that. And so I was always kind of like writing and performing sketches and stuff.
Okay. So like a Key and Peele type of a show.
Yeah.
The Chappelle show,
Dave
obviously.
Chappelle, yeah.
What else is there? I think
I like
Shane Gillis and his friend have that show too. I forgot the name of Gillian Keeves. That's what Shane Gillis and his friend, they're both comedians, do. So is it? Why did you say it was, and you don't know if it still is the dream?
Because I like doing stand-up, and it's a lot more, I guess, easy for me to get into. I don't know, it's working a lot better than doing sketches and stuff because you're kind of just like writing these sketches and either sending them out to people who make these shows, or you're like performing them on YouTube. And a lot of those people don't like people who perform on YouTube.
I feel like if your original goal was being a stand-up comedian and then you branch out into writing or acting or whatever it is, it's accepted.
Yeah.
But if it's the reverse, I can see where stand-up comedians are like, no, you got the notoriety for something else, and now that's why you're attracting people, not because you're a good stand-up comedian.
Exactly.
Now, some genuinely become really great stand-up comedians, but when you look at Eddie Murphy or you look at Kevin Hart, they were stand-up for Robin Williams, rest in peace, stand-up first and then did all the plethora of other things that are in their portfolio.
Yeah.
So I can see where, like the community of comedians has kind of their own code.
Yeah.
An unwritten code, maybe.
Yeah.
But again, I think that you can always be really good at one aspect of comedy and then branch out into multiple other aspects of comedy. And I think if you're great at stand-up, the other stuff probably comes a lot easier because stand-up's got to be the most terrifying thing to do.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's not really that terrifying for me. I don't even know.
Even from day one?
Yeah, not from day one, no.
You loved it?
Well, yeah, I loved it, yeah.
So talk about the first time you were on stage. What happened? How did it come about?
The actual first time, I hated it because it was a high school talent show.
Okay.
And I wanted to, or my friend was like the super talented musician. He could play every instrument. He can sing. And he wanted to perform the talent show, but he's like very stage fright. And I was like, what I'll do is I'll sign up for the talent show and I'll do horrible stand-up comedy. And that way, no matter what you do, it'll look great. And I turned out actually doing pretty decent stand-up comedy. And he went after me. He ended up winning the whole talent show, but I got like the top 3 as well.
Did you really?
Yeah.
But you still hated it.
I didn't. I mean, it was horrible because like I was shy, I was shaking. I think the easiest way for me to equate with it is stand-up comedy is easy for me when it's crowds and people that I know I'm never gonna see again.
Okay. And in the high school, it was the flip of that because you knew everybody there and they knew.
I was gonna see him next period.
Got it.
It was like during lunch period almost, and like I was gonna see him like an hour later. And
do you
then
remember the set that you did? How long was it?
I remember I had 5 minutes, and then they made me cut it down to 2 because I had like 3 minutes of like pee and poop jokes, and they were like, "That is too inappropriate," and I was like, okay, "It's just pee and poop jokes."
In high school, though, come on.
Yeah, I know.
Strange.
So I went up there and told like 3 jokes and then left. Like it was.
But I mean, they responded to it, so you were happy because you got top 3.
Yeah. I think the important part is like I also forgot a joke and I didn't realize until I got off, but I didn't just sit around and wait like for me to think of the joke. I was just like, I don't know it. I'm done. See you later.
Got it. So you kind of knew how to handle yourself when things don't always go as expected?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You were able to just kind of like cut the situation off without it looking like you fucked up in any way?
Yeah, I was just like, thank you, and then walked away.
Okay.
It was just like, it was pretty easy.
So that's high school. That's how long ago?
I don't even know, like 2017, 6
Okay.
years ago.
So it's been a bit. And you stopped doing stand-up after that?
Yeah, my senior year of high school, I ended up getting really good at this video game called H1Z1 and became a professional video game player.
H1Z, I'm not familiar. What is it?
It's like it was the like original battle royale. So it was like before Fortnite and before PUBG and all that stuff. That was the original one.
Okay. Okay.
The guy who made PUBG originally made it for. He actually originally made the battle royale game mode within H1Z1, and then like he got offered his own contract, went out and made a new battle royale called PUBG.
Right.
But H1Z1 was the original one. I was a professional video game player in that.
So how did that go? How long was that? How did you fall into that kind of career? Because people play video games all the time, but almost nobody goes pro with it.
Yeah. So I love video games and I love the competitive aspect of it, you know. And I always suck at video games, like off rip. So what I personally like doing is just getting better at things.
Okay.
And that was what I was focusing on. I was just like, all right, how do I get better at this video game? And I ended up getting so good and that I was like on the top of the leaderboards and stuff. Got invited to a couple of tournaments, and then all of a sudden, like some teams are hitting me up, like, "Hey man, we want you to play on our team. Come play in these like scrim matches and tournament matches with us." And then ended up playing those. Then I went to a tournament in Atlanta, and I ended up being like a finalist in that tournament. And then I was like, "Okay, I guess this is my job now."
So how did you find the way to get better?
It's just so the main way to get better at anything is just time and effort, right? Like whenever I played basketball, I was just like, okay, as soon as practice is over, I'm gonna go home. I have my own basketball court that was like next to us. I'm just gonna go shoot hoops there, you know, like always putting in the extra time and effort.
Okay.
And the second way is just like always like watching yourself, and that's like with anything as well. Like whenever I played basketball, I'd record myself shooting and be like, okay, well my form's off here, you know. Stuff like that.
And do you see that translating into your stand-up work?
Yeah. I was actually this morning, I was meeting up with another comedian because we were like discussing jokes and we were watching ourselves. How could we do this joke better? And similar thing, you know, we're doing like, I don't know, 15 mics a week trying to.
So that's how many you
jokes.
average a week?
Usually, yeah.
So 15 mics equates to what, like 5 minutes each or a minute each, 2 minutes? How does an open mic, do they vary in the amount of time you're given?
Yeah, absolutely vary. Like some of them at like the big clubs, they want as many people showing up.
Okay.
So you get like 3 to 4 minutes. Some of them are like, we only get like 10 comics a week, so you get 10 minutes. You know, it's stuff like that.
And it's all Dallas area, or are you on the road already, like doing stuff in other places?
DFW area, yeah.
Just DFW.
Yeah, it goes from McKinney all the way to Fort Worth. Like it's a
I know
big
there's
span.
a ton of clubs that exist, and most people think Dallas is a sleepy place for comedy, but we got some good clubs. We got some really good clubs here.
Yeah, the way we best equated it, we had like asked people in Austin when we were there for Kill Tony, and we asked people, you know, like what's the difference in DFW and Austin? Austin's like, well, we only have like 3 or 4 mics, but they're really, really good mics. And
Okay.
DFW has so many mics, but half of them suck.
Interesting.
Yeah, half of them are at a bar, and like they don't want you there, and like even the owners don't want you there, but they just agreed to the schedule or whatever.
Right, because they just need to fill time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because Austin has, Creek in the Cave,
Yeah, that's a really good
the
one.
Comedy Mothership just opened.
Just opened,
Rogan's spot, and Vulcan.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
There was another one. I forgot what it was called, but it was like down the street from Creek in the Cave as well.
Okay.
And you can hit all those mics. They also have I think it's like Off the Wall or something like that. Then they have one that's like in the park, and it's like you're just outside. You're literally in a park. It's just a microphone in a park.
Have you done any of those?
No. Those are on like Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I've only ever been to Austin on like a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay. So when you were, because I mean, I kind of first got introduced to you from your Kill Tony debut, which was kind of fun. It was really fun. I mean, in the beginning, the crowd was almost not with you, and then like really quickly you got it into a flow and a rhythm with them, and it was funny, and they were responding. It was cool. The self-deprecation was really nice, and like for a minute, it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
And you can tell because like Tony and them were really excited about it. The crowd was with you. I was at home. I'm like, this guy's really funny. He's interesting. I literally followed you the day I saw you on that episode. I was like, this guy's really funny. He's going to go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what was the reason for going to Austin in the first place? Was it for Kill Tony, or was it because you had other stuff lined up too?
So I have a group, like a close group of friends that we specifically do comedy with. There's 4 to 5 of us, depending on the night. And we kind of decided, Nathan is a friend of mine. He's really funny. And he is like the biggest Kill Tony fan like, ever. And he wanted to go see the Kill Tony show like live, and he wanted to try and get on it. And I had never seen it before. My friend Bryce never seen it before. So we decided, it'd be fun. Take a weekend, I work for a school district, so I get, like, for example, spring break this whole week. I get this whole week off.
Okay. What do you do for the school district? Sorry, just a
IT.
sidebar. So you do IT.
IT, and I'm the esports coach as well, so.
High schools have esports now?
Yeah.
Or school districts have esports?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Really? Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. All right. I'm not going to go into it. But so you do the IT and the esports coaching.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So let's get back to you and your buddies.
Yeah, we were like, let's go. Let's have a trip. Let's go to Austin. Bryce is a big Shane Gillis fan, and so he wanted to go to Creek in the Cave because that's where
Gillis
Live in Austin.
Is hilarious.
It is. Yeah, it was so funny. We watched it on the way there. But the Live in Austin was filmed there. He's like, I want to be on stage. I want to take a picture on stage there. So we went there for a couple of days to kind of just try out Austin, do the mics and stuff, and we ended up just going to Kill Tony. We're just like, we're here. Why not?
Was it easy to get in?
Yeah, it was super easy. You stand outside in like a little line. They have a comic line, and they have like a spectator line, like people actually pay to go watch the show.
Right.
And the comic line, they come down with clipboards, and they're like, "What's your phone number? What's your Instagram at? What's your name?" Yeah, you just sign up, and you're done.
And then you just wait to be called.
Yeah, they have unlimited spots apparently. But yeah, they put you in like this little cage almost. Like it's a little weird.
It's kind of like that back area where you kind of see people just hanging out.
Yeah, so there's like, when I watched Kill Tony for the first time, I kind of saw back there. I thought, oh, it's just like a side part of the room where just people hang out. No, there's a fence, and they're like, stand behind this fence. You're not allowed to leave behind this fence. They have a ton of people just crammed in there, and the area that you see on the camera is like that's actually people's seats.
Okay, I get it.
So people are kind of
so you guys
sitting
are
there
behind
watching.
even.
We're
that.
behind that. Yeah,
Oh,
you can't
wow,
see us on the
crazy.
camera.
So I know that like Kill Tony gets crazy sometimes, where like people are even outside waiting, right, to get in. So many people sign up.
Yeah, they told us that like usually they get like an average of 200 people sign up a week.
Did you notice a bump in your presence online after doing Kill Tony? Anything different happened for you after doing the show?
Yeah, so the big two where I started getting recognized at like comedy clubs around here.
Okay.
And the other one was people I went to high school with were just like messaging me out. They were like, "Hey, dude, I didn't know you were on Kill Tony, dude. That's crazy."
Nice. Yeah, I've had again, part of interviewing people. I've spoken to a couple of comedians that have been on Kill Tony, and they're like, you can see a difference in like where you were versus where you are if you do well on that show. And I think you did well. I mean, there's like the rarefied earth of the golden ticket winners, but then there's also like the people that are really funny, and you kind of fell into that really funny category.
Yeah.
But like golden ticket is rarefied earth, like there's like 8 people ever that have gotten that thing.
Yeah. I'm friends with one of them, JP Hinsdale.
Really?
Yeah, and we were actually talking to him before we went. We are like, "What's it like? What do we got to do?" And he said that his stand-up sucked, but his interview was great, and they gave him a golden ticket winner because his interview is just so funny.
I think it's Redman and Tony. They both have this ability to see a comedian who's going to be a star even before that comedian may realize it.
Yeah.
Because like you look at the people that William Montgomery, David Lucas, and Hans Kim, like these guys are killers.
Yeah.
They were on their way anyways, but I think Tony and Redman probably recognized more of you guys have way more talent than you understand. And that's why those guys are like regulars on the show and they're just killing it everywhere.
I think there's a couple of like aspects that go into it.
Okay.
First off, like the point of time that you go into it, like when your name gets pulled, like I was first.
Yeah, you opened tonight.
Yeah, I opened the night. I went after Hans Kim bombed, which kind of helped me a little bit because like they were ripping on him. They're like, all right, we need someone kind of funny.
Yeah.
And that's when I went up. So that kind of helped me. Like, oh, he did better than Hans, you know?
And Hans usually kills. Like Hans's material is really good.
Like if Hans killed and then I went up, people would have been like, this guy fucking sucks, you know? Like that's the way I feel.
It depends. I mean, it also comes down to how strong your routine or your 1 minute is. Because some people can take the energy that Hans will give the crowd and then just accelerate it.
Yeah.
But other people can kill it in a second. And we've all seen it. Like they'll start and the first thing they say and everybody's just like, God damn it. I thought we were supposed to have fun. Because they're not bad enough that you laugh at them being bad, and they're not good enough that you laugh at them for being good enough. They're just like right there, like, eh.
Yeah.
Those are the worst kind of comedians. Because if they suck really bad, then you know the interview is going to be interesting and there's going to be a lot of funny shit that happens. And if they're really good, like you were or some others have been, then the interview is even better because now you're rooting for the guy or the girl, and you're like, dude, you are good. I want to see more of you.
I'll tell you,
it's the mediocrity that I hate, and I think everybody in the crowd hates it too.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you, I hate, I thought based on just like watching Kill Tony a couple times, you know how like he rips on people?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to go up there. They're going to make fun of me, you know. Afterwards, my whole social media is just going to be people making fun of me or whatever. The whole experience was nice. Like everybody was nice to me whenever the show was like, I watched it live whenever it came up. I was at an open mic just watching it on my phone. And all the comments were like, this guy's going places. This guy's I only had one hate comment.
Probably because your interview went really well.
Yeah,
everybody was on your side on that interview. You're right. They didn't like mess with you. Nobody screwed with you. Nobody called you like, you know.
No, they each made one joke about me and that was it.
Which is fine.
Yeah, I was expecting like 5 minutes them just go into it, but no.
But like what I think it might be nervousness. It might be just me sitting here as a spectator, you know, making opinions, which everybody has. But I think when Tony does that, he does it on purpose to see. Because like if you say it was my first time on stage or 6 months into it, that he doesn't usually mess with you that bad.
Yeah.
But if you're like 4 years or 5 years into comedy, he will mess with you just to see how good you are on your feet. It's like a test for him. He's like, can this guy play? You've been doing it for 4 years. You should be able to kind of like do back and forth a little bit. You know, take the information I'm giving you, making fun of you, and then either you make fun of yourself to keep it going or you do something that's funnier. And a lot of times just people come up short.
Yeah.
And that's where you start going like, man, Tony is really being mean to these people. He's not. He's literally giving them a test and the ability to prove themselves as a seasoned comedian.
Yeah.
Some people pass that test. Others just don't.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Again, this is my opinion as a spectator, a person that doesn't know Tony at all, has never been in the crowd in Austin. I just look at it at home.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, take it with a grain of salt. It's
that's
like
probably a better observation than I had. I thought he was just gonna rip on me, you know.
He does rip on those people that he genuinely doesn't like. You see it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like some people just suck so bad.
That's true.
Or some people, and there's been a few of them that have like this shitty attitude of like almost having a superiority versus being humble to the fact that, dude, you got lucky. Out of a couple of hundred people, you're the one on stage right now.
Oh,
enjoy that moment.
I did the math on the way there. It was 3% chance you get pulled.
And if you know what, life gives you something so rare. Don't be a condescending dick about it like you deserve it. No, you don't.
Yeah.
It's a stroke of luck. Literally, the man is pulling a name out of a bucket. So those are the people that he gets pissed off to. You can tell. He's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm done with you. And he does it all the time. And it's funny. That's funnier to me. Because like the people that think they're better, he's like, no, dude, we're probably all on a level playing field. Most of us on this stage are way better than you are. But we're giving you the opportunity to be a peer with us right now. Take it. Don't fuck it up. I don't know. That's my opinion. I feel like that happens sometimes. But with you, you're right. There was like a couple of small, jabs at you. You took it great. You had a good interview with them. And I think they even were like, hey, for like someone doing it since September, you're doing really well, or something to that effect at the end of it. I remember they were kind of like really pleased with your presence.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's part of it too, is like how well can you carry yourself on the interview portion? Is that what your buddy had told you, the one that had the golden ticket?
Yeah, he told us like the interview is the most important part. He's like, you can go up there and you can just stay silent on the microphone for a straight minute But if your interview's good, then they'll want to have you back.
Speaking of straight silent, remember that one dude that literally didn't speak? He had, I don't know if you saw this episode, he had like the long curly hair, and he just got on stage, literally said nothing for a minute, and killed.
Really?
Yeah, he murdered by not saying a single word.
I got to check that out. I haven't seen that.
The guy's nonverbal cues
Yeah.
were just ridiculous. I'm not kidding when I say the entire crowd, including Tony, Redman, everybody was just dying laughing. And then the interview happens. He didn't talk the entire interview.
So he just stood up there
He just
silently?
stood there for like a good 6 or 7 minutes because Tony literally interviewed the guy and he said nothing because that was the funny. That was what made it so funny that the guy was just like, like shrugging and barely making audible noises with his mouth. And you're just like crying, laughing. It's that good. He's been up a couple of more times and actually done material. He's pretty funny too, but I think just because you mentioned it, like the straight silence, this guy murdered saying nothing.
Yeah.
I've never seen this happen before.
Oh, that sounds like right up my alley too.
Yeah, I think if you just Google Kill Tony, 60-second silent guy, or I can't remember his name. I apologize, but you are ridiculously funny, whoever you are.
When I send my friends like the biggest Kill Tony fan, he can tell me the episode and the timestamp if I ask him. Like, hey, was that one guy silent? He'd be like, yeah, episode 367 at 17 minutes in. I'm like, what the hell? Like, he's crazy.
So, I knew of Kill Tony from some of his stand-up stuff, some of his Joe Rogan appearances. I had never actually watched Kill Tony until, I want to say like 2 years ago is when I started watching Kill Tony. And it was like on and off. But now I wait for the damn episodes to come out. Like I'm craving it. It's fun to watch a Kill Tony episode.
Yeah.
Last week, I think Roseanne Barr was on there. Dude,
Sure.
Murder. I never knew Roseanne was a great comedian, like a stand-up, but she kills, apparently.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is like, see, Roseanne also began as a stand-up comedian, but most of us know her from her TV show because it's like a difference in generations.
Yeah.
And to that, I wanted to ask, what do you see as the future of comedy? Because now you're the generation coming up. You guys are, like there's a group of you that are trying to carry the torch. And what do you see as the future?
I was actually talking about this at Hyenas the other day. They were wanting us to like write a bunch of skits and record them, and that way they could like play those while they're sitting people for like a show or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
And we were talking about like what kind of skits or whatever. And I said, I don't even think stand-up comedy is going to be around for much longer. Like, I like stand-up comedy and I hope it's around for much longer. But if you look at the Comedy Store documentary or whatever, they were selling out Tuesday nights. They were selling out every night of the week because people were going to those shows every single night of the week, right? People don't do that anymore. Like, comedy clubs aren't even open on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday sometimes here. Like, they get very mid shows on a Saturday now. And it's just because people have that, if they want to laugh, they can just put on a Netflix. They can put on, Hulu or whatever at home, watch YouTube. And I think that's where it's going eventually.
But don't you think the social dynamic of being in a room with other people sharing this experience will always kind of keep it going?
I think it'll keep it going, but I don't think it's going to be big. You know what I mean?
Which saddens me so much.
It does. Socially, people are changing so much. You got, like, I work at a school. So many times I hear, like, oh, this kid is having trouble at home with their computer because, like, they didn't want to go to school. Like, they were too anxious to go to school or whatever. Like, as long as you keep getting people like that, I think you're going to have, like, the comedy clubs just slowly dying. Because back in the day, no one said that. Oh, I'm too anxious to go to work. No one's ever said that. Like in the 70s.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you on that. But on the other side, I feel like, how old are you?
23.
Okay. So I'm 37.
Yeah.
Not that much longer on this earth than you, but just long enough to see that waves happen all the time in American culture and society. And we go through these overcorrections all the time where for a long time, let's say Hollywood was biased against women, and then they overcorrect and just like everybody's, woman oriented for a while. And then they're like, okay, now we ease off and kind of find the neutral ground where it's equilibrium.
Yeah.
I think comedy might be going through that exact same thing right now of the clubs might and probably do need to change the way they do things, but comedians ultimately in time will never want to leave the club because I think you guys get as much, if not more, pleasure out of making a crowd laugh than we do as a crowd laughing.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I think if you guys still exist that want to continue to have the shared experience with club goers and comedians, then it'll never go away. Because I'll be honest, dude, I'm okay paying a little bit more for a drink knowing that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this club does nothing. But because I want you guys there. I want to see the comedy. I want to be part of this idea that is only shared in that one instance.
Yeah.
I don't care if you watch it on YouTube later. You're not having that shared experience.
Exactly.
Like, I got the opportunity to see Harland Williams live at Addison Improv a couple of weeks ago.
I love that place.
So do I. It's one of my favorite clubs in Dallas. It's an awesome place to go. But I'd never seen him live. And unless you're in that room, the way he works that crowd, you'll never have that experience in your life. Because
It's so much different.
the other comedians that were there that had worked with him in the past, Derek and Cheyenne, they both said that, like, every night is different. You will never get the same crowd work that you got on a Friday night versus a Saturday night. So, like, it's completely unique to that instance in time. I think there's a lot of people like me that want to have these memories.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I hope that, I don't want to sound mean, but I hope you're wrong about comedy going away, because I think it's so important for society to have the modern day version of the court gestures telling us how fucking stupid we are sometimes.
Oh, 100%.
We need that
I hope
more
I'm
than
wrong.
any time.
I hope I'm wrong. I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. Why would I want to choose a dying one,
Well, there's always going to be the evolution.
Yeah.
I think you may be looking at it as, comedians maybe 20 years ago were like, 30 years ago were like, the sitcom or the late night show is what you're trying to get on. And then about 10 years ago, we had this shift of maybe that's not the right option. And now you're trying to get into the Amazon, Netflix to do your special kind of a world.
Yeah.
And now it's evolved into, screw them too. I'll just put it on YouTube. Then I'll start selling tickets and people will come to my shows. And that's been a formula that's working. I think that evolution just needs to continue, where comedians get paid for being good. Club owners can keep their clubs going. And we as the consumer continue to have this beautiful thing that only exists in that moment in time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. I know it's philosophical to say it, but like, I hold comedy in a completely different regard.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very high art form for me. And most people don't think of it that way. But you're like, yeah, you need someone to tell you you're bullshit.
Yeah.
Someone needs to tell you you're an idiot.
Yeah.
That's my opinion of it, at least.
I like that opinion. Because I'm the one telling people that they're idiots.
And you should. So that's the thing, is like, if your observation is global and everybody understands why we're being idiots, it's a little different. You're not singling out a person. You're like, dude, as a society, here's where we're screwing up really bad. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
Putting recognition. I think that's a really important thing for comedians to do. So if your future does come about where comedy clubs don't exist, where do you see comedy existing, or does it not exist?
I think comedy clubs, like on a smaller scale, like, Hyenas or Dallas Comedy Club, like non-global ones, like the Improv. Like, Improv is everywhere, right? They have 2 in the DFW area.
Right.
I think those clubs might actually die. I mean, Hyenas Plano already like closed down like 6 months ago. Like, I think those are going to go down, but I think the other ones are going to stay up, and those are going to be like the big comedians. Like, those are the ones, bigger comedians are going to go to. Those are going to sell out all their shows because that'll be the only club there. And then I think everyone's just going to be trying to get Netflix spots. Like, that's the future, I think. Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. Like Matt Rife, he's blowing up on TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't do any like actual material on TikTok.
He's the one that says I'm a pretty boy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's hilarious.
He is hilarious, but he does only crowd work on TikTok. So like, I've seen him live. If you go see him live, he does actual jokes, and you never see that on his TikTok.
And are his jokes good?
Yeah, they're actually really funny.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, half of the show is still crowd work still, because he's like farming those TikTok clips, but the other half is like, oh, you're never going to see this again. I feel like that's where it's going to go eventually. Like, you're going to have show jokes. Like, these are the only jokes you're going to see at these shows.
Okay. I could live in a world like that.
Yeah.
I could genuinely live and be very happy in a world where the good stuff that you're working on or you're doing, I have to actually come out to see you to be a part of.
Yeah.
The crowd work, the poop jokes, as they say, that's fine. Throw that shit on TikTok. I can live with that. That sounds cool. But it also seems like your version of the future also makes comedy way more competitive. Oh, yeah. Now you've got you don't have the smaller clubs. You've got the really big clubs. And you're not doing 15 mics a week, so your craft needs to be mastered in a different way.
Yeah.
You don't get to just like riding a bicycle, continue to do it until you get great. No, you have to find a way to practice, I guess.
What I think is weird, like I've talked to a lot of like local comedians around here. You have to have some kind of social media presence, and I'm lacking on that. I know that. Like I need to be putting out more.
You almost don't exist.
Exactly. I need to put out more like Instagram stuff and TikTok stuff. It's just a matter of being able to record it. Like this weekend, I have a show. I'm gonna record it then, because you don't want to record an open mic. You want to record like an actual show, because that's when you have an actual crowd, and it's mainly the crowd's reaction that makes it look good. Like if you just go up there and tell a joke, people are like, oh, this sucks. But doing that is like necessary. And some of the comedians are like, oh, I don't know, I don't want my work to find out, I don't want my family to find out, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, because it's the confidence that they don't have yet.
Yeah.
Because like certain people, when they get to a point, are like, I don't care if everybody in the world knows I'm doing this, because my material, at least in them internally, it's good. But I've met people that are so good and they just don't have that confidence of themselves.
Exactly.
They have that fear of failure. And you're like, dude, you're killing it. Every time I see you, you murder. What are you talking about?
I know this one girl, and she doesn't post anything about what she does on comedy, and she's killing it. Like, she is so funny, but she's scared that her work would find out and her parents would find out, that she doesn't post nothing. And I'm like, you're missing a giant opportunity right now.
Not just one. She's missing opportunity seeing her.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the internet that's so wonderful, is that it allows opportunities to seek you out if you're good.
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't know, if you grew up in Colorado or something, and before the internet, well, you had to get lucky for somebody to be at a club to see you and recognize you and be like, I think that guy's got something.
Yeah.
But now you can create your own entire, model around you're funny and have people follow you because they think you're funny.
Exactly.
It's cool. I think it's a very interesting place that we fall into. And again, I love that comedy is way more competitive than it used to be. You have to be better than everyone on the internet, off the internet, to get to that place.
Yeah. We were looking at it. Fort Worth Hyenas, they have like 100 comics that show up to the open mic every single week. You have to be funnier than all of them. Dallas Hyenas, they got probably like 30, 40. Like, you got to be better than every single one of them if you want to get a show or booked like as a host or a guest spot or whatever.
So Fort Worth is a bigger club. Fort Worth,
yeah, it's a bigger club. It's way nicer as well. It's like underground. They got 2 giant rooms that they perform in. The Dallas Hyenas, they got the one small room.
That's where I always go, is Dallas Hyenas or Addison Improv. Those are my 2 clubs that I frequent, and either one of them I'm at least once a week just for this, because that's how I get people that I want to interview. Is I just go sit in the back and take notes of who I think is funny.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hey, you want to come by?
Yeah, Fort Worth Hyenas is huge. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, the first time I went, it was really funny. I have a friend that lives like right next to it.
Okay.
And I stayed at her house, and me and her went together. And
does she do comedy too?
No, she just wanted to watch.
Okay.
And I was like, it's my first time at this club. They'll probably put me on last. Like, they probably don't know me. They'll probably put me on last. And we were there until like 3 a.m. And it was so funny to me because, like, the later it got, the funnier it got. That she had to stay there until like 3 a.m. on a work night.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But I see where the humor kind of like, the longer it takes, and you're just like, okay, this is kind of going into like a Looney Tunes kind of a cartoon.
Exactly.
Of like
and we watched so many
eyes and stuff.
Yeah, we watched so many terrible comics go up there, just like stutter, and it's like, oh, they just never heard me before, so they put me last.
How'd you do?
Terrible. There was literally only me and her in the room at that point. Like, the host even walked out. He's like, this is the last guy, and then left.
No shit.
Yeah.
So there was nobody left.
No.
Damn. So, did you perform even though there was nobody there?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, to her.
To her.
Yeah.
Did she find it funny, or was it just like too late?
I felt like it was too late, but she laughed at like one of the jokes. Like, it was only 3 minutes, but she laughed at one of the jokes, and I was like, okay, for one tiny laugh for one person that I'm talking directly to.
What joke was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember. This was like October. I don't remember.
So, how do you come up with your material? What is your process?
Usually in the shower.
Okay.
I have ADHD, so my mind's always moving. I got to be stimulated.
Oh, welcome to the club.
Whenever I'm not stimulated, that's when I think of the jokes. So driving, shower, doing like labor for work or whatever. I used to write a bunch of jokes when I worked at Peterbilt and Denton.
Okay.
Because it's like you're doing the same thing over and over again all day.
What'd you do at Peterbilt?
I was in charge of getting doors ready for paint.
Okay. Yeah.
So like I was just like lifting doors and putting them on a rack all day, and I was thinking the whole time like,
this would be funny. That would be funny.
Yeah, this would be funny. That would be funny. This is a funny joke. This is a funny premise. I'd write it down as I went.
And do you find when you write down a joke and you do it and you perform it, how many iterations does it go before for you it's solid? Like you want to put it into your routine?
So my routine of like getting a joke ready is when I write it down, I call my friend either Nathan, Kenny, or Bryce, or who are other comics, and I call them and ask them, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, oh, it's got legs. You know, if they say it's got legs, I'm like, all right, cool. Then, practice it in the shower, tell my girlfriend, tell my friend Brandon, who's not a comic, he's a rapper. Then I'll perform it for like 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And if it gets a reaction that I like out of like, the good mics and the bad mics, then I'll be like, all right, I'm going to keep it. And if not, then I'll just like erase it and throw it away.
And do you see yourself kind of like retooling it as you perform it on stage, or is it kind of like set in stone when you write?
No, so like we'll go to the open mics together and specifically to watch each other's sets, like our core group, and be like, oh, I think you could reword it like this, or you could do this like that, So all these jokes are constantly changing. Like maybe it's a couple words, maybe it's a complete different premise. I've had a couple jokes where they're like, I don't like where you're going with it, but this could work. And I'm like, all right, cool.
So you and your boys think tank it.
Yeah.
You guys kind of try to break down each other's stuff.
Yeah.
And rearrange it into a more better working model.
That's what we were doing this morning, actually.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And you guys do that at the club too, right?
Yeah, we'll do it we'll do it at the club. Sometimes we'll drive in between clubs. We'll do it then.
So you were performing, I'm guessing, Friday and Saturday?
I was performing Saturday, yeah.
Okay, interesting. How'd it go?
It went pretty good. Regular crowds, so when you're doing open mics and stuff, it's either crowds that hate you or it's all comics or something like that, except unless you're going to like a DCC open mic where the people pay to watch it.
DCC open mic?
Yeah, Dallas Comedy Club.
Okay, sorry, Dallas Comedy Club.
Yeah, people pay to, like, they're like, hey, I want to go watch the show. Like, let's go watch it. And they do the 2-drink minimum. They're not a comic. They're not signing up, right? They actually want to go see it.
Right.
That's a good open mic to do, but every other mic sucks because it's just comics that are like, I think I'm funnier than this guy on stage. So when you get an actual crowd, it's like, oh, shit, the parts of these jokes that I thought were funny originally never got a laugh, so I just blow right past it.
Okay.
And then people are laughing at that part, and you got to realize, like, I got to slow it down. It's a completely different environment.
So timing is one of the bigger things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like getting that rhythm in and going into a flow.
Yeah, like I have one joke about Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay.
Like I want to like decorate my house for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I want to have a 20-foot tall inflatable Martin Luther King Jr. in my front yard. And every time I've said that at like during an open mic with like a bunch of comics, everyone's like, whatever. They don't laugh to the actual punchline at the end. But every time I've said that to like an actual crowd, they laugh at that part, and that blows my mind. I'm like, okay, that part's funny as well.
Oh no, I can tell you why. Because comedians, and I'm not a comedian, but I feel exactly how they feel. Mm-hmm. You're so desensitized to it.
Yeah.
Because okay, I don't do 15 open mics a week, but I'm at the club every week, at least hearing 3 to 5 comedians to see who I like and whom I want. You get desensitized to it.
Yeah.
What's funny to a civilian is not funny anymore, because for me it's work. It's different. I'm kind of like breaking down your jokes as you're doing them on the stage and going like, I see why this is way deeper than half the people understood, and this is really funny. This guy has a future, or this girl has a future. Versus some people get laughs, and I'm sitting there going like, but this is shit that other people have done so many times before. There's nothing original or funny about what you're doing right now, and you're not funny to me. But they still get a laugh.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the 20-foot Luther King Jr., it's not that somebody's ever done it before. I've actually never heard anybody have that. But almost all of us have had stupid-ass Christmas decorations that are big, inflatable. So, like, your mind goes there automatically.
Yeah.
And it's funny to imagine that you would have that. And then also, you're not black, so it kind of makes it even funnier that way, where it's like, what is this guy leaning into? Like, am I ultra woke, or is it just really funny because of, a white guy celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day? Yeah. I see the multi-layered aspect of it, where your comedy buddies are waiting for the actual joke to happen, whereas consumers in the crowd are laughing because they're already imagining. The visualization in your mind is what makes you laugh.
Yeah, they're visualizing, 20-foot tall inflatable Martin Luther King Jr. and they're like, that's ridiculous. Why would anybody do that?
Right.
Exactly.
And you're just kind of like thinking about it, like the logistics of it. It's 20 feet tall. You do something so the wind doesn't take, all this stupid shit. And That's funny.
I thought about wobbling on stage, like, it's going like this.
It's like one of those inflatable wobblers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the slow wobble that the Christmas decorations do. I thought about doing that on stage.
Which would be something you should try.
Yeah, I was going to try this week.
And the reason I say you should try that, because it seems like the joke itself has funny. You can always add more to it.
Yeah.
And subtract more from it depending on how it goes. Like some jokes just need more.
Mm-hmm.
And then they become a standing ovation at some point. And other jokes are just like a throwaway. You're like, all right, whatever. I just did it a couple of times. People laugh, but not for me.
I've noticed some jokes hit differently in different crowds. Like,
Yeah.
I have a joke about the word hobo.
Okay.
Where, like, so for example, I'm not going to say the actual joke, but for example, the joke is like homeless. Hobo is short for the word homeless. So.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And so there's no B in the word homeless, so why is there a B in the word hobo?
Yeah, that's why I never made the connection.
Exactly. And so I'm like, yo, why don't we just call all homeless people homos?
Nice.
And then I go, actually, I think no homos makes more sense.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
But I've noticed that, like, if I do that joke in front of a bunch of old white people at like a VFW, they laugh at, let's call all the homeless people homos. Because they're like, Republican, all homeless people should get a job, let's call them homos,
Right.
And then other people laugh, like the younger crowds will be like, oh, no homo, because that's the part that makes it funny for them. So I've noticed that people laugh at like different parts of the jokes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've noticed that not just with Dallas per se, but most of the country's kind of divided in those little sections of, like, if you're on the West Coast, the stuff that I hear in Dallas just won't work in the West Coast.
Yeah, we had a Midwest comedian come down one time, and he was bombing, and he was like, he's like, oh, my grandma was talking about the mashed potatoes, and I was like, no, we don't understand that, dude.
Yeah. Whereas I've heard other comedians that are like from Louisiana, from Chicago, from Maine, and they just murder because their relevance isn't bound to their state. It's relevant everywhere. It's funny everywhere. And it's like, depending on how dark they are and what kind of material they're talking about, you just don't do that in LA anymore.
Yeah.
You have to follow a standard almost. And some people get away with it, the ones that are well known, but I think the new ones starting out are afraid to say some of the funny things that they want to say. Like your joke, the homo one, probably you think about it doing it in, LA, because you're like, what are they going to think? Are they going to accept it or not?
I've done it in a Colorado comedy club.
How'd that go?
And it went pretty well, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. Listen, this isn't me talking shit to anybody in Colorado, but and also not me having an ego. I was the best person there. It was crazy. They were like, this guy's performing at our club every single week. Welcome him up. And he bombed. And I felt like I was the only one actually getting laughs, like, at the club. And I was actually really surprised. I'm like, really? Colorado sucks this much?
Which you'd be surprised, because Colorado has such a carefree attitude, and, pot's legal and drinking and all that stuff. And, it feels like just a colder version of California in some ways, or like a cleaner version of Oregon in some ways, whatever. But that's strange that their comedy scene is not doing well.
Yeah, I know. Like, I think it was mainly, I'm chalking it up to they were trying out new jokes or whatever, but this dude went on for like 15 minutes about his wife sucking his dick, and no one was laughing. And he didn't pick that up like, I should probably change the subject or try a different joke, right? And then I went up there and I did only 5 minutes, and people were laughing, and I did a bunch of different kind of topics. And they were like, oh, this is crazy. You're from out of town? And like the second I got off, they were like, you got to come to this place as well. And I was like, oh, okay.
Because, like, the wife sucking the dick thing, or the boyfriend or the husband or the whatever the spouse is doing that, it's old.
Yeah.
It's been done to death.
Yeah. I mean, he was an old guy. He was like 50.
But. Yeah, but I mean, Derek, who's 47, he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I saw him, and his stuff was fresh. It was good. It was relevant. It hit the crowds that were in their 40s. It hit all of us that were in our 30s. And he probably did a couple of things that the 20-year-olds in the crowd would have been happy about too. But his overall set was great, even as an older comedian. But like, I've met others that are, they're never going to make it.
Yeah.
You just know they're never going to make it. Derek is not that person. He's the opposite of it. You feel like he's going to make it. But like, you meet people that do self-deprecation stuff that is so outdated that you're like, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Exactly.
You like become a little bit more relevant. Like, Jodie Foster may have been hot at some point in her life, but most of the people in this crowd have no fucking clue who she is.
I don't know who she is.
Exactly. See?
That was really funny. Whenever Kill Tony, he said I look like a squished Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Rick
You didn't
Moranis
get
was.
you didn't get it, right?
No, I didn't understand. I was like, okay, thank you.
But that's the thing is like, I think Tony knows what his age group is because you're 23. Most people at his club are probably 30 plus, or they're coming out to see Kill Tony are 30 plus. At least when they flip around in the crowd and you see it, you can tell.
Yeah.
So most of us sitting there got the joke and got what was about it. But I sat there thinking, I'm like, I wonder if everybody got it.
Oh no, for sure.
And I knew everybody didn't get it.
Whenever I walked back to my friends afterwards, they were like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Who the hell is Rick Moranis?" And they were like, "I don't know, dude."
But like in the same token, a ton of people in that crowd maybe wouldn't have understood someone that's more relevant to your age group versus their age bracket. I'm sure like there's a ton of people that are relevant that we just have no idea about, like musicians or artists that we're like, okay, I guess I don't know who the hell that is, and then you Google them and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
That's the thing is like knowing your crowd and what you were talking about, the older guy in Colorado talking about his wife sucking his dick for 15 minutes. Hey, bro, after 2 minutes of your wife sucking your dick on stage, if it's not working, do something else. Switch to anal. I don't know. Fuck it. Figure it out. But you got to have something in your Rolodex that's different than what you're doing. And I think that's what makes a comedian, a real, genuine, professional comedian is the person that knows how to pivot and make it work. Because I've seen comedians, and I'm sure you have too, go on stage, their first few jokes don't hit. They automatically switch to crowd work, get the crowd back, go into a different set that they weren't even planning on, and then kill at the end.
Exactly.
Those people are real comedians. Those are the people that understand. That's their true art, is understand your crowd and make them actually go down this journey with you. You have to have an emotional connection, I think. I don't know what your opinion is as a comedian.
Yeah.
Does that matter, like having that connection with your crowd?
Yeah, so I have like 4 or 5 different like sets, I guess. They're like they're smaller sets, but whenever I do like a longer, like 15 minutes or whatever, 15, 20, I put them all together. And that's kind of like, oh, I feel like this topic is not working. I'm talking about my girlfriend. I feel like people aren't ready to laugh at my girlfriend for a little bit. Let me go talk about me being from Louisiana and then maybe go back to it, like eventually. And it's kind of always like free flowing. So note, like if you come watch me, I'm never doing the exact same stuff in a row, the exact same time, every single time. It's always flowing differently based on how the crowd's reacting to it.
Which I don't think anybody ever does. I've seen the same comedian 2 nights in a row. Big name, not going to mention it, murdered both nights, but completely different hours. Mm-hmm. Almost none of the first night ever made it into the second night, but the first night was just as good as night 2. He still murdered.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he was like, it's not working right now. Crowd work, and then he went into an hour set that was completely different, that you were crying laughing.
Yeah.
But that was cool. And I think I've always been curious, like, how long does it take to actually get that switch to turn on of, like, knowing to quickly pivot?
I feel like you either got it or you don't. Like, it takes, like, 2 seconds of, like, okay, this is not working. I need to find something else. And then you just start pulling it out in your brain. You're like, okay, this one worked last time. Let me try it there.
And did you think that, I mean, was that with you from, like, day one? Not high school, but I mean, like, when you actually really got into stand-up comedy.
I didn't have enough jokes at the time. But, like, I remember the first night, I did really good, like 5 minutes at one place, and they were like, hey, come do 10 minutes at this other open mic in like 2 hours. I was like, cool. So I went there, and I waited for my turn to go up, and they were like, yeah, you got 10 minutes, good luck. And I didn't have 10 minutes of material, so I told like a story, and it did not work out. And it was kind of like after that, I was like, okay, I need to learn like when to stop, because this is not working out.
Yeah, you can hurt yourself more than you hope yourself if you're not ready for it, I guess. Yeah. Was that the idea?
Yeah.
So since you've been doing it since September, how many minutes of solid material do you feel like you have right now?
Solid? Like, I feel like I could produce, like, great laughs, great, like, paid for material, 15 minutes. I feel like 15 minutes is, like, I got that. It's for sure. Obviously, like, the one demographic that I can't figure out, like, how to laugh for or add into the group is old women. I can get old dudes, young people, any kind of young people, any race, any religion, whatever. All those generally laugh at my jokes. No matter what I have tried, old ladies do not like me. I don't know why. Just no matter what I can do.
Define old.
Like 60 plus. Like
Okay.
I've done shows at like veteran of World Wars places, like those
For the
VFW
VA
bars.
and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And old ladies don't laugh. The old men love me. The old ladies are like, this guy is not funny. He keeps cussing and blah blah blah. Old dudes are like, okay, this is funny.
How many comedians do you know that actually give a shit about the 60 plus women?
Probably none.
None.
Probably
right?
none.
Because it's such a small niche of people. And like, what percentage of 60 plus women actually go to comedy clubs?
That's true. That's true.
It's probably such a minuscule amount that if you focused on making everything else better,
Yeah.
you'd never have to worry about them. They just wouldn't be your crowd.
Yeah.
And then, who cares?
I don't really worry about them, but I'm thinking cruise ships. Like if you're a cruise ship comedian, you have to have that crowd.
Is that something that you want to do, like a cruise ship?
I've thought about it. I hear it's very easy to get into, and they pay very well, and it's very fun.
Okay.
But you're also gone for 8 weeks, and so like I just can't take 8 weeks off of my job,
So what about summertime? Is the school closed in the summer? Are you guys off for the same 3 months, or it doesn't work that way?
IT has to work extra because we got to get like everything ready for the next year, and we got to upgrade where we got to upgrade. But we do get a little bit off. Like we'll be getting like half of July off.
That's not bad. 2 weeks. It's
2
not
weeks.
bad.
What I'm going to do during that time is my friends are renting a month-long Airbnb for the whole month of July so that they could do all the Austin mics and Kill Tony and stuff. So I'm going to go down and hang out with them for that 2 weeks.
And that's going to be in July?
Up. Yeah.
Oh, man, you're going to be having fun.
Yeah, yeah. Spending a lot of money.
It's all right. I mean,
My rent is $250, so I'm chilling.
Sorry, do you pay $250 a month for rent?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I live in, first off, the shittiest apartment you will ever imagine. It is, I'm not joking, it is 50 feet from a railroad track.
Oh, nice.
So the train's always going by. So the normal rent is like $1,200 because it's so big. And so my family owns it, and then they gave me a deal on it.
Okay.
Because they own the whole complex, which is only like 4 apartments. But
still,
they own it, and they're like, yeah, you get this deal. So originally it was $750, and then I got this friend of mine who needed a place to stay. She moved in with me, and I told her, yeah, you'll be paying $500.
Okay.
And so I pay $250, she pays $500.
Nice.
And so I'm saving so much money. So I'm not even worried about like spending all that money when I go down there.
Right, because you're not even spending money here
I'm not really
just for
spending much
everyday
money
living.
anyway. Exactly.
That's awesome, man.
Like on Tuesday and Wednesday, I've already spent like $1,000 on it already, but me and my girlfriend are going on a vacation.
Nice.
I wasn't even worried. She's like, are you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, I'm not worried about it.
So where are you headed?
Frisco, technically.
Okay.
But we're gonna be staying at like a hotel there. I'm renting a Tesla for the weekend and stuff, or not the weekend. It's Tuesday and Wednesday, but for those few days.
Okay.
And we're gonna do like all the cool stuff there to do
In Frisco?
in Frisco.
What the hell is there to do in Frisco? My friend lives in Frisco.
They got like
I was there yesterday.
They got like biking trails
Okay.
and Andretti go-kart racing.
They have that here at the Grand Scape too. Like
Where?
8 minutes away from here.
Really?
Yeah, in Plano at the Grand Scape. You know where Shields is?
I've honestly never been to Plano.
Okay, so literally 6 minutes without traffic from my house is a place called Grand Scape.
Yeah.
Where they have an Andretti's, they have this huge movie place, bunch of restaurants.
Oh, I think that's the same
Shields.
place. I think it's the
Might
same
be,
place.
but
I've never been there.
That's like literally down the street.
Yeah, so we're going
It's fun.
there. Yeah, we wanted to get a hotel because I have roommates, she has roommates, so we got a hotel. We're doing all this
Makes
cool
sense.
stuff, and it's gonna be a fun event.
Go to the Frisco Gun Club. It's a lot of fun there. A bunch of different guns you can rent and shoot if you've never
Really?
done it. Oh yeah, they have
I was
tons of
looking for
guns.
something like that to do.
They don't have the fully automatic ones. That one's towards downtown Dallas.
Yeah.
Where you can like even shoot a Gatling gun.
Yeah,
I think it's the Dallas Gun Club or whatever it's called. But the one in Frisco, the Frisco Gun Club, really beautiful, upscale looking place. Tons of different semi-automatic pistols and ARs and AKs, whatever you want to rent. They have rifles like with scopes and stuff. So you can have a bunch of fun over there. It's a lot of fun at the Frisco Gun Club. That's good to do. Andretti's, you've picked a good idea, like going there. Other than that, I don't know much about Frisco area. Or
we're doing like biking trails. I have a show on April 6th at the Frisco Rail Yard. It's gonna be filmed, recorded. I'm headlining it, and
nice.
We're gonna go like pre-check it out. The ownership wanted to meet me, so we're gonna do that as well while we're there. Just all this kind of cool stuff.
So the Frisco Rail Yard. Is it a club?
It's like a
What is
music
it?
venue,
Okay.
and they wanted comedy, so they hit me up.
Nice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a paid gig, I'm guessing.
She wants it to be a recurring gig if it goes well. And so
Okay.
she's like, I'll pay you if it goes well, and we'll invite you back every single month, and you can bring like a whole different list of comedians. But the first one's not paid. And that's why we're filming it, is so we can film it, and then
That's fine. It's like a pilot. It's a test run.
yeah,
So are you picking the comedians that go with you this time?
yeah, I did, yeah. I picked people that I knew had like good material for this X amount of time, that were also like my friends or whatever, and that it would make sure it would go well.
And how much is each comedian performing?
It depends. We got one guy who's doing 15, and then we got a couple people doing 5. You know, like
Okay,
I
so
only
there's no
booked them-
set time.
yeah, I only booked them for how much time I knew that they could do. Like I've seen them do before.
Okay, that
Like
makes
one
sense.
girl, she's doing 10 minutes. I've only seen. She says she can do 15, but I've only seen her do 10 minutes good, so I'm only booked her for 10.
So now you get to do the booking stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So I never knew like comedians actually kind of got to do stuff like that. I knew that comedians that were on tour usually would take comedians with them to go on tour with them, but I didn't know like even small things like this, you get to kind of like put your own show together.
Yeah.
Does
so
that happen often?
yeah, a lot of comedians put on their own show. Do you know who Zach Sprung is?
No, doesn't.
He was a traveling comedian who recently just died actually.
Oh,
But whenever he became a comedian, he started his own production company.
okay.
And he put on his own shows, and that's like how he got big as well. So he'd like invite all his comedians. Hey, we're putting on this show at this place. You're on this show or whatever. And that was one of the things that like, when we first met him and we started talking to him, he's like, yeah, you guys should come on one of my shows or whatever. And so it was kind of like that. When the lady hit me up, she's like, yeah, do you know any comedians? And I was like, if you want, I can just book the whole show for you.
Okay.
And she's like, sure, that's great. Less work for me.
Which gives you a better opportunity of being reoccurring if she knows it's like one less thing
Yeah.
for her to deal with once a month, and you can always kind of bring up talent with you.
I was talking to her, and the main thing that she cares about is just the money. You know, she cares about, because it's an outdoor venue, so it has a bunch of food trucks.
Okay.
And she's like, as long as the food trucks are making money that day, as long as the bar is making money, I don't care what y'all do.
Well, they're serving alcohol and food, so I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna have people just hanging out. I mean, if you're friends and you guys like perform well, I don't see a reason why not.
Exactly. And she's like, as long as I'm making money, whoever's there, it doesn't really matter. Just, I want to make money. That's it.
Is it a day or a nighttime thing?
It's a nighttime thing.
Okay, even better. So
Yeah.
like the crowd will be in the mood for comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a big event. Like we have posters and stuff made for it, and she's like advertising this is going to be a comedy night. So no one's going to show up there, or hopefully no one's going to show up there and be like, I just want food, and then get shoved into a comedy night. It's like, okay, tonight is a comedy night. Are you sure you want to stay? We're doing comedy all night.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
And did she put any restrictions as far as like clean material
No.
or do what you want to do?
She said whatever works. She's like, as long as it's not like overly racist. And we're
Okay.
like, okay, we aren't overly racist.
I wonder what her definition of overly racist would be. Like
I
would
don't
the
know.
Martin Luther King Jr. joke pass?
100%.
Okay. Because it's got the tones of racism in it.
It
a
starts
little
out.
bit.
It starts out with like, oh, what's this white guy about to say to me? Like that's what it starts out with. But Dallas Comedy Club is primarily like a black crowd. And
Okay.
It always kills there every single time.
I gotta check out the Dallas Comedy Club.
Yeah,
I've only gone to Addison and Hyenas
you got to
for
go
some
to
reason.
Dallas Comedy Club. I personally think it's the best open mic in DFW.
Okay.
They have like a limited amount of spots, and the way they put it together is like if it's your first time, you get on the spot. And then they throw people they know are good in between. They're like, oh, this guy's good, let's throw him in between, and that way
The flow keeps going.
Yeah,
Even
like-
if you're not great, the next person will keep the team pumped up and
Exactly.
the community pumped up and hyped. So like the next
Exactly.
person has a chance.
exactly. I went to the Addison Improv one time, and I showed up. I was like 15th on the list or whatever, and every single person before me did not make anybody laugh.
Damn.
And then I got up and I made this. Like I didn't even do material. I just did crowd work with like the 2 sets of groups that were there,
Okay.
and they loved me.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, they really need like good people to come up here and just know how to work the room, because these people were on their phones when I stood up. They didn't even look at me. No one clapped when I walked up. Like it was
Because the crowd had been lost because of the previous comedians just
Yeah.
being so horrible.
everybody was just being like just going.
Yeah,
up
at
there
some
and
point you
trying
give
their
up.
hardest.
You're like, all right, enough, man.
Yeah.
You guys suck. Which makes sense. I get it. But so is there a host when there's open mic nights?
Yeah, there's usually a host.
So somebody will introduce everybody, and will they try to keep the crowd going in between, or
Yeah.
not really?
They'll try their hardest. It was actually really funny that one as an improv one I went to. Brian Kim was the host, and he's
Okay.
like, his whole thing is that he's awkward. Like he wants to be as awkward as possible. And so he went up there and to try and hype up this crowd, which was a bunch of like out of town people. And he was like, "Come on, guys, come on!" And I was like dying laughing because I thought it was so funny that they weren't even just like, "Come on, guys." And then he like gave up. He's like, "Okay,
That's the best.
Chandler." And I was like, "All right, cool."
I like awkward. Like, you have to be good at it.
Oh yeah, he's good at it.
It's a difficult art form to try to be the awkward one or the obscure one, the oddity in a group. It doesn't work all the time. It really works for a very rare amount of people that you're just like, oh yeah, I see it. You were born to be this weird dude.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to see Brian Kemp, I recommend it. He is so like he works that awkward line so well, and it's like crazy funny.
I will check him out, definitely.
Yeah.
And he's at Dallas Comedy Club sometimes?
He's at Addison Improv. He hosts their open mic nights sometimes.
Okay.
Performs at Dallas Comedy Club whenever he's on the list. You can see like on their Instagram they post a list of who's going to be there.
Okay.
And then Hyenas, he's there like every week. Hyenas Dallas.
I like the 3 for 25s that they do at Hyenas. You ever seen that one?
Yeah.
So it's like 3 comedians, 25 minutes each.
Yeah.
They usually do it on Thursday night.
They call it like the 3 pros or whatever.
Yeah, 3 pros, 25 minutes each or something like
something
that.
Like that. Yeah.
There's really funny people that do that show.
Yeah.
And it's a Thursday show, so it's like you need to like comedy to go to a comedy club on a Thursday night. You didn't just stumble into, after being out to dinner, just go into a comedy club. Because I've done that before. Just walk in and be like, hey, you got any space?
Yeah.
No clue who's there, and you still end up having a good time, but you weren't there for the comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the 3 to 25s are funny. Open mics are really good, but that's the thing that I hate about open mics sometimes is that you get just a string of really bad people, and then it kind of becomes hard to delineate who the really good ones are because your brain is just in this negative mode.
I was talking to the manager at Hyenas last Wednesday before the open mic, and he was like, "Why does our open mic like always suck? Or how come everybody always leaves?" And it's because they do a drop-in show that's like 2 hours long beforehand.
Yeah.
And then they immediately are like, "Okay, guys, all the good comedians are done, so we got open micers if you want to listen to them." And then most of the people just leave immediately. And it's because they've already listened to comedy for 2 hours. A lot of people just burn out.
So why wouldn't you just combine the two together? I would do
That's
a
what I was
drop-in open mic night.
That's what I was saying. Like you have the drop-in host, maybe they do like 10 minutes, and then you got like a couple open micers, and then you do another 10 really good minutes, and a couple open micers in between, and then that'll make the open mic crazy. Like everybody will show up, everybody will try to get on.
Yeah, because your drop-in is going to be somebody good.
Yeah.
Automatically.
Uh-huh.
And then the hype will be there because everybody will be in the mood because you had the funny host.
Exactly.
And then you can go, do the route of popping in open mic night. And for Hyenas, how many minutes do they usually get for open micers?
So they have it like blocks, so that way one host isn't hosting for like 6 hours. So first block is like 4 to 5 minutes, and then every other block is like 3 minutes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what makes the determination if you get the 4 or 5 minute spot versus the 3 minute spot?
Depends on who signs up and the guy who makes it. If he like knows you're good, he's gonna put you in the beginning.
Okay.
To kind of hold the crowd, the people who stayed, kind of hold them there. Like, oh, these guys are good, maybe we'll stay. And then whenever it starts getting bad, that's like it's kind of like a ranking almost. So like if you're first block, according to the bookers of the club, you're better than people in the fourth block.
Okay, that makes sense. So there's a hierarchy system, pretty much. Interesting. And what club do you find to be like the most intimidating to work at? Because 15 open mics a week, man, you're doing a lot of clubs.
Yeah, well, we also do bars as well. A lot of open mics happen in bars. Like intimidating, like I hate it, or
no, like you just really badly want to do well in a club because like there's something for you, it's something iconic about it or something that is like a nostalgia, like whatever it may be personally.
Oh, Dallas Comedy Club for sure.
That's the one.
Yeah, they're like they want to go to a clean mic.
Okay.
And so you got to be careful on what you say. Like you can't make fun of Greg Abbott for being in a wheelchair. Like they just recently added that rule.
What?
And we found that out because my friend had a joke about it. And it wasn't a good joke or anything, but he just said it. And afterwards they were like, you can't say that joke here anymore.
Bro, so many people make fun of that though.
I know.
Like it's hilarious.
I know.
I've heard an entire 10-minute set on how Governor Abbott became Governor Hot Wheels and how the whole thing transpired. Like
exactly.
It was a hilarious 10-minute set.
That's why we were like, yo, dude, it's not, you're not losing much because everybody makes fun of it. Everybody knows the joke,
right.
You see where it's going. But at the same time, like they're trying to go, so you don't want to set them off. Like you don't want to say something that's like, oh, that might be a little too much. And that's why it's intimidating, but also because they have like they have 2 huge rooms, you know, like they have a ton of shows every single day of the week. Always stuff going on. And it's like one of those where I really want to do good at so that they will notice me.
So DCC is a clean club.
They want to be a clean club. They're slowly working there.
Got it.
They just started slowly working there.
I wonder what makes club owners want to transition into a clean club, because I feel like you just restrict yourself with the talent that you can have come in.
Yeah.
Like Ari Shafir's never going to do your club.
Everything is bar sales. So like they want to be a clean club on the open mics. Nothing else.
That's
so,
it.
Like Ari Shafir, if he
can
wants
do
to,
whatever he wants.
Yeah, he can
it's
come
only
do
for
whatever he
open. Okay, I got it.
They want like people who are in town visiting, bring their family there. You know, like hey, let's go watch this place, and then it's clean. That's what they want.
Got it.
Go
Okay,
drive
so
more traffic.
it's not family oriented, but like you can take your mom and not feel bad because nobody's up there talking about anal sex or some stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, fair enough.
Right now they haven't stopped sex. Like I have a joke about getting out of breath during sex and having to call it quits. And
that's awesome.
And they never said anything about that, but they have said stuff like, you know, like, hey, maybe tone it down on like to some of my friends or whatever. Hey, maybe you're talking about jacking off a little too much. Maybe we tone it down like next time.
Okay. So like the whole Governor Abbott thing though, I've heard comedians do that Abbott joke outside of Texas. Nobody gets it. Literally nobody gets it.
I don't think anybody knows who Abbott is outside of Texas.
They might know he's the governor, and even if they premise it by saying he's the governor of Texas, nobody laughs because nobody knows the guy's in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
It works for us here because you're kind of inundated with it. He's on the local news all the time. You kind of see him all the time. But like, if I live in New York, I couldn't care less who your governor is or why he's in a wheelchair. It just doesn't work.
Exactly. I don't know a governor of any other state.
I know a few of them, but I mean, Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. Well, no, she was the mayor of Chicago. Sorry, not the governor. But Governor Gavin Newsom. Who's the governor in New York? I forgot his name. I forgot. Anyways, doesn't matter. But you're right. Yeah, most of us don't know, especially since the gubernatorial whole thing happened like a couple of years ago, a year ago.
Yeah,
they got elected like a year or two ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
The midterms, wasn't that part of it? The governors and stuff.
I think so.
I think so too, but I could.
I've noticed. I have a joke about the Alamo, and it works in Texas. Doesn't work anywhere else. I've tried it in Louisiana, like in New Orleans, and it did not work at all. Like people are like, "What's the Alamo?"
Which is funny, is because we all got taught about the Alamo in school. It's
in
like
Texas?
part of in California. I grew up in
Really?
California. Yeah, I lived in California for 30 years before moving here. We learned about the Alamo in like grade school.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
It was part of like U.S. history or something. Like everybody learns all that shit.
In Texas, we have Texas history.
Yeah, we had California history. It was like a couple of weeks.
And that's what we learned about it in Texas history. I remember that. And so like whenever I went to like visit my mom, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this comedy club this night and just do their open mic. And it was a really good open mic, like actual crowd there. No one fucking laughed at the Alamo. They were laughing at every other joke. As soon as I said Alamo joke, they're like, oh fuck, dude, what?
And this was Louisiana.
What's the Alamo? Yeah. Oh, Louisiana always gets that thing. They're like, oh, everybody in Louisiana is stupid. They always get that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been to Louisiana a couple of times. I can't say that everybody there's stupid, but I could see how we make fun of every state and something about every state. Like Texas has its bullshit, California has its, and from other states, if you just shit on that state, it's done. But, like, I'm not going to call everybody Louisiana dumb because I don't think so.
Well,
but
Tom
I think
Segura has like on a special like 15 minutes. Where
he hates Louisiana.
He's calling
he
Louisiana
literally
stupid.
hates
I love it.
Because I know the joke. He's like, you can't say retard anymore.
Yeah.
But we've replaced that word with like Louisianans or something.
He said
like
Cajun.
Or Cajun. Yeah, thank you. Cajun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's so fucking funny.
It's so funny. I love it. But it's one of those things,
Again, like we can all shit on California for its stuff, Texas for its stuff, Maine, and who's the I forgot, but like somebody else was shitting on a state, and he's a comedian. Last week tonight with John Oliver. Remember, he was shitting on a state, and then they shit back on him, and they ended up donating money to their water treatment plant. Like this whole funny thing transpired. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Especially when the states get in on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really funny because I remember like the local news picked up on Tom Segura's thing, and they were interviewing the cops, and the cops were like, "We think this is the funniest thing in the world."
Exactly.
It was hilarious. I love that. Where
Exactly.
you can kind of take it lighthearted. Like, he doesn't really mean you're all dumb. He's just kind of the way, a lot of them are.
Exactly.
Or whatever it is. Like, people in Florida are crazy. Not everybody, but there's a lot of crazy stories that come out of Florida. You know what I mean? Like, there's a ton of crazy there.
Yeah.
That's okay. You want liberals? You go to California. The crazy woke mob is over there.
Exactly.
You want guns? Come here.
Exactly.
We got you.
I have a joke about my friend moving from California, and he said that, like, before I always ask people whenever I find out they're not from Texas, I'm like, what'd you think it was going to be like before you moved here? And he's like, yeah, dude, I thought Texas was just full of racists. And I'm like, you still moved here? Like, what the fuck's wrong with you, dog?
I didn't think Texas was full of racists, but I didn't know what to think of Texas when I first came here. And the first city I visited in Texas was Lubbock.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, yeah, pretty much all the Western stories they talked about it's that.
Yeah.
Because they had like oil refineries, a couple of universities, and nothing else in that entire city. Yeah, it was just emptiness.
Exactly.
But then you go to Houston and then you go to Dallas and you're like, oh no, we were so wrong about this place. And that's the other thing is, like, people think Texas is racist. I'm like, why don't you come hang out here for a couple of days?
He told me.
See how racist we actually are here. Like, everybody intermingles. My neighborhood is probably the most diverse neighborhood I've lived in ever.
Yeah.
And it's in Texas.
Yeah.
And it's a suburb. White, black, Indian, Pakistani, Chinese, Korean, Armenian, every damn race you could think of is here. Yeah. And it's just a small little place.
I know, yeah. It's just like that. Have you live out here, so you've been to Carrollton before?
Of course,
they got like the little India and
the Armenian church is in Carrollton, so yeah, we go for like community events and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then they got like the little Koreatown or whatever. They got all these places.
Such good food over there.
I know.
Oh my god.
That Korean barbecue place.
Yep.
I forgot what it's called, but it's like fancy almost.
Something Gen.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
It's in that big plaza, right? That's always busy.
Big strip.
Always busy.
Huge.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that place.
Yeah, really good food. And that's the other thing that people don't realize about, especially Dallas. I can't speak of broader Texas, but I can speak of Dallas. They're like, they don't understand how diverse it is that we have these pocket cities by communities of like Koreans and Japanese and Chinese and Indian and Pakistani. And you're like, I can go buy all of these interesting food items from like what was it called? HK Market or something?
Yeah, H Mart.
Yeah. H Mart, thank you. It's a Korean mart that has this plethora of different types of food that Kroger doesn't have or Tom Thumb doesn't have.
Yeah, inside of H Mart too, they have like a bunch of small, like they have a Korean lingerie store.
Yeah. And then they have a place that sells like Korean creams and bath products, and then I forget the name of the place, but they have that bakery that's inside of every H Mart. They make such good pastries.
Such good stuff. Yeah.
But that's the common misconception of, outside of the East and the West Coast, they think everything is Hickstown, USA. When you're like, no, man.
Yeah.
But my advantage was I've gotten to see most of this country, 49 out of 50 states I've gotten to visit. And you're like, no, it's all diverse. Everywhere you go, doesn't matter where it is. There's people of all walks of life.
Yep.
And they all seem to get along. I know I shouldn't be saying this, but I still don't understand why we think racism exists. Stupidity exists and ignorance does. But I don't think we genuinely are racist anymore towards each other.
I don't think,
Majority of us.
Majority.
It shouldn't be so prevalent in the media because the majority
Andrew
of us
Schultz has like that one Netflix special or whatever where he's talking about it, and he goes like, he's like, 90% of people are just like me and you. Like, there's normal people, and it's the crazy people that we keep seeing on the news, and then they show it up on the news so many times that everybody assumes everybody's like that.
Yeah.
But it's not like that.
And it's the dumbest shit in the world, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because I personally have had people of many different races reach out and help me when I had a time of need. I've helped others when and you never really care about like where your background is from. You're like, no, you're a person, I'm a person. We can just like be human and civil to each other.
Yeah.
But that doesn't sell. There's no ratings in that. If like the local news was just like, yeah, racism's over, everything's cool. 1% of the population are still morons, but they're always going to be, so let's ignore them.
That'd be really funny if like a news article was just like, racism's over, yay. Like, that would just be really funny.
And if you did that, and if you talked about that for long enough, we would literally go into a mindset of, yeah, racism is over.
Yeah. He's
not black, I'm not white, he's human, I'm human. That's it, done. Like, we could finish this debate, but there's no money to be made anymore.
I've had like, growing up, so I didn't, right?
Yeah.
That's where I spent like the high school and my after high school years at.
So moving around, I want to get a better picture of it. So you moved around a lot, but at what age did you settle down into a place and just stay there for a while?
I think I was like 10 years old. Whenever
Okay.
we officially were like the Denton area, we were like, this is our area. This is where we're sticking. But I mean, that's not to be said. We still
Moved
occasionally
around
but we
within
always
Texas.
came back.
Okay.
We always came back to Denton. Like we leave for a couple months, always back to Denton.
Something about Denton, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So back to what you were saying. So high school in Denton. And
Yeah. So Denton is like huge college town. They got
Okay.
3 colleges, and so you always got these young people coming from other states, like incredibly liberal. So many occasions I've had like people come up to me and be like, "You have racism like inside of you because you're white. Like you're born racist in some form or fashion." And I'm like, I'm half Mexican. I'm a white kid in a Mexican family that is from a black state. Like, how can I be any less racist? You know?
Yeah, seriously.
I don't understand it.
You know what? To those people, you could just literally tell them to go fuck themselves.
I'm just like,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I'm
you
like,
know?
yeah, Chandler Valencia is racist. I mean, come on, man.
Not that a Chandler Valencia couldn't be racist,
Yeah.
but the likelihood is so low. And to just kind of be like, because you were born this way without any choice of your own, you
Yeah.
had no say in the matter,
Yeah.
you're automatically labeled a racist. Why?
I don't
What
know.
kind of bullshit is that?
I don't know, man.
That it doesn't make any sense to me.
I've
But-
heard it on multiple occasions. So they're just like,
Yeah.
you're born with it. And I'm like, I don't understand how, but I'll let you believe that.
Yeah, that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. It was equally as dumb as some people that were saying, you know, when the second Black Panther film came out,
Yeah.
that white people shouldn't go see it.
Yeah.
And they should allow black people to go see it. I was like, but that doesn't work that way.
I bet
We're not
you-
denying anybody access to a film just because we also want to go see said film.
I bet you those actors with royalties, or that are going to get it to royalties, they're like, everybody come see this, please.
I think every actor that even heard of something so stupid as that literally came out and going like, no, you guys,
Please, just
please,
see it.
all of you come see this film.
Exactly.
It should be shared with all of us.
Every single person.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's art. How do you, who the hell are you to limit access to art? They did that for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of got past that. That's the whole point of the United States is like, we're supposed to be free.
Apparently Lizzo came out and was like, she's like, my music is not for white people. Like that, she came out and said that.
It's not your choice who your music is for.
And
That's the beauty of art is when you put it into the world,
Yeah.
you are no longer the owner of that damn art. Everybody gets to share it.
That's true. It's true.
And if you don't want people to share it, don't put it in the world.
I want everybody to listen to my comedy.
Hell yeah.
Like, I want everybody to see it all the time, please.
I mean, I do this because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I have my career and my stuff that I do, but this is fun for me. Now, is there a part of me in the back of my mind that goes like, man, I'd love to have a really big podcast where I could invite some of the names that we mentioned and they would actually come on because I'm recognizable? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's stupid to say you don't want that. Now, is it my driving force? No, I love doing this. This is fun. I genuinely want to know what you're doing and how you got there. And that should be accessible for the entire world. That's the whole point of this. There is no part of me that says, I don't want X group to listen to this. Why?
Exactly.
Why alienate?
Your audience. Exactly.
Yeah. And Lizzo, you should be happy that people like your music and don't really pay attention to if you're white, black, or whatever. They just like you as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Your music speaks the volumes instead of you.
Exactly.
But,
I personally love your music. Very
I
good.
do too. And
Very good.
my problem that I find right now is with this whole woke agenda. Who's feeding them this bullshit? It's not them.
I think they're coming up with
It's
random
not.
stuff. So
Stop it. I'm never going to believe that the entire entertainment industry as a whole has gone down this rabbit hole
Yeah.
of their own volition. They have not.
It's always the loudest. That's what I've heard. Is like the loudest people are the ones that are always complaining. Like if I go to a restaurant and I like the restaurant, I'm gonna be like, cool, leave a tip, leave. But the people who don't like the restaurant, they're calling the manager over, they're complaining, they're making a scene. They hate it. And they're like, okay, well maybe we need to fix this problem because this complaint happened.
I have found myself calling managers over more to praise wait staff than to ever speak ill of them. Because I was a waiter when I was like 14, 15, getting shit pay. And I know how hard that job can be. So if someone's really passionate and good about it, especially if I'm out with my kids and they make them feel good and validated, I will always go to a manager and be like, dude, that person needs a raise and you need to cherish that employee.
Absolutely.
Because nobody does that anymore. We don't praise people that do regular jobs because we think that unless you're some finance guy or an artist or whatever, inventor, you shouldn't be praised for your good works. No, you should, because you're still doing a job and you're nowhere near the end of your career. You're probably at the beginning because you're some young kid at a restaurant, right?
Exactly.
That praise is good for you. Your boss coming up to you later on going like, dude, keep doing what you're doing. Really liking it. Great attitude. People need to hear that once in a while, especially from strangers. Your mom will always say you're great, well, usually. But
Well,
yeah,
maybe not mine.
usually. But you know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
kind of the whole point. And I think that's where comedy comes from, too, is the validation of strangers saying you are good. It's the only way you as a comedian get validation is like others have to say you're good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a musician, their downloads or their record sales kind of tell the story, or the movie, the actor's performance tells the story. With comedy, it's like what you get from us tells your story.
Yeah, I mean that's always the best feeling when you're walking off stage like,
Hell
at the
yeah.
end of the night and people are like, "Dude, you did really good tonight. I loved what you did." You know, like after Kill Tony, you know, we were walking outside and we were just waiting on our Uber, and it's like every single whether they were a comic or you know, they watched the show or whatever, as they were just leaving, they're like, "Dude, you did really good." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man. Thank you." Like I think probably like 200 people that day.
And I think that's probably like something that you need. It's these rare instances that kind of keep the fuel going on the fire, where you're like, oh shit, okay, 200 random people, some of them pro comedians, said I was good.
Yeah.
I want to keep going.
Yeah.
People need that once in a while, man. Like, I don't know, we've become so negative in the world.
True.
It like when you say the loudest voices are the ones that are heard, who's giving them the script is my question. Because everybody's reading the same damn script.
Yeah.
The loud voices. Who's giving you the script and why are you following it verbatim?
I don't know. But
It's crazy.
like the first, I don't know if it was the first actually, but one of the original instances of like woke culture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Speedy Gonzalez is?
Yeah, of course I know Speedy Gonzalez. What's his face was going to voice Speedy Gonzalez? Fluffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who Slowpoke Rodriguez is?
Slowpoke Rodriguez. No,
Exactly.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So in like, I think it was the 60s or whatever, Speedy Gonzalez was like popping off in the Looney Tunes. So they decided to give him his own like episode. It was Speedy Goes Back to Mexico. And he had a cousin who is Speedy Gonzalez is the fastest mouse in Mexico.
Slowpoke is the slowest pass in
slowest
Mexico.
mouse, right?
Okay.
And whenever he went back to Mexico, Slowpoke, he's like, "Oh, I'm slow in the legs, I'm fast in the brain." He's carrying his pistol. He's like shooting the cats. And after that episode aired, Fox eventually were like, "All right, we're gonna take Speedy Gonzalez and Slowpoke Rodriguez out. Like they're gonna completely get rid of them."
In the 60s this happens?
Yeah, in the 60s.
Okay.
And they were like, because it portrays Mexicans as always being on either cocaine or marijuana. And so we don't want to do that. And so they took him out. After they took him out, the Hispanic American community sent tons of emails like, "We love Speedy Gonzalez. We love Slowpoke Rodriguez. Please bring him back." And they've only brought back Speedy Gonzalez. They never brought back Slowpoke Rodriguez. He's not been mentioned since. And so no one knows about him.
Okay. So I'm still trying to figure out where the racism came in, or what was the
that was Fox as like a bunch of rich white executives being like, "We don't want to offend the Mexican people," and the Mexican people would be like, "It doesn't offend us. We love them."
Yeah, because it's representation, even if it's small. It's still it's funny representation. It's not meant to be offensive to anyone, especially since you're like, you know, these two spectrums exist. Someone's gonna be slow, someone's gonna be really fast, someone's gonna be dumb, one's gonna be smart. Isn't that like the premise of almost all like duos?
Everything, yeah.
Ren and Stimpy were that way. Family Guy, Brian and Stewie are that way to a certain degree, or Brian and Peter are to that degree. Damn it, I'm drawing a blank right now. Rick and Morty.
Maybe Rick and Morty.
I mean, every single iteration through maybe 100 years of cartoon has always had the dope with the smart one, the fast with the slow, in some abstract capacity. Exactly. Doesn't matter what it is. Bugs Bunny and not Wile E. Coyote. What's the guy that chases him?
Are you talking about the guy with the gun?
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
I forget his name.
But I love that. Yeah.
Right. But he's the dope who has the gun, and he's outsmarting him as a rabbit.
Tom and Jerry. You know?
Yeah. I don't see the racism here.
Yeah, there was.
You can look for it. I'm sure.
There was no racism, but that's the executives being like, okay, this is racist, and then the Mexicans like me and my family were like, no, it's not racist, please. Well,
that's the other thing is like you find people getting offended on behalf of people that they do not represent in any capacity.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
It's like, how am I getting offended on behalf of, let's say, white women when I'm not?
Mm-hmm.
How? What are you doing?
I don't know.
Like, that doesn't work that way. You can be in solidarity with them, but they themselves have to be offended by said thing. If they're not, then you're in solidarity with no one.
Have you seen that one TikTok where it's this like white kid? He's dressed in a poncho and a sombrero, and he walks around his college, and he's like, "Is this offensive?" And every girl there is like, "Yes, that's extremely offensive." And then he goes to the Mexican part of town, and everyone's like,
This
"Dude,
is cool.
this is so funny. This is cool. This is hilarious." Like they're all like praising him, like, "You look so good. I love your outfit."
I think he did the same thing with traditional Chinese clothing or Japanese clothing, and he went and did the same thing. I know who you're talking about. College campus, everybody is like, "Oh God, you're so racist," yada yada yada. He goes into the community where like people are just that community, and they're like, "This is really nice.
Yeah.
You look beautiful. You're wearing proper clothing." Blah blah blah. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get why people want to be offended for other people.
I've went to an Indian wedding before, and
I
I don't know
was
what
fun.
it's called, but they're like, I don't know. It's not a dress. I know it's not a dress, but I don't know what it's called.
Is it called a Sikh?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds right. And I had to wear that.
And I'm sorry
one's
to
offended by
the
that.
Indian and Pakistani community if I'm butchering any terms for traditional clothing or something. It's just what I thought I remembered.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend.
Yeah.
But did you wear it too at the wedding?
Yeah. Like they said, everybody's going to be wearing this kind of stuff. Here you go. And I was like, cool.
It was fun though, right?
It was fun. I loved the wedding. It was great. But no one there was offended that I was like a white guy wearing it, you know?
Yeah, I was at an Indian wedding many years ago. Shout out to Margarita and Sujay. But I wore regular clothes because I wasn't part of like the bridal party or stuff like that. But I mean, family members on both sides, and one side was not Indian and the other side was Indian.
Yeah.
They did the proper dress and everything, and it was beautiful. You know, they had they did two weddings, one for the Christian side and one for the, I think they were Hindi.
Okay.
So they had a Hindi guy come out and do the entire ceremony, and I'd never seen it. It's really beautiful to witness it and be part of it. And I think if we kind of started thinking of culture in that way, where all of it can be shared amongst each other, it would be a better experience. I think. I could be wrong about this, but I feel like we do it with food. I mean, we get to share everybody's food and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Why can't we do it with everything else?
That's true. That's true. I'm Mexican, and I've actually had people tell me you can't speak Spanish because you're white. Like I've had on 2 different occasions, 2 girls say that to me, and I'm like, you realize it's my family's language, and also Spain.
No. Why don't we go beyond that? It is now wrong to become more intelligent,
I guess.
Because it's a proven fact. People that speak more than one language, people that play a musical instrument, they usually have a mind that is more abstract and can find a solution by looking at things in multifaceted versus your linear English only mind.
Yeah.
So this is okay now? Like, because you speak another language and are bettering yourself, even though you have nothing to do with that language, you're wrong somehow?
I don't speak it very well.
Was I not supposed to speak English when I immigrated to this country? Was I supposed to just stay
Continue
a moron?
what you were?
Like,
exactly.
I don't get the argument there.
Uh-huh.
Because it's language.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's hiding it. Everybody wants it. The more of us speaking multiple languages, the easier it is for all of us to communicate. Because we haven't gotten to a universal one yet.
That's true. That's true.
And we don't have, the sci-fi movies where they just translate for you on the fly without it doesn't exist yet.
Doesn't.
So again, I'm dumbfounded by it.
Yeah.
It's almost funny how stupid it is.
Mm-hmm.
I can see like a person actually doing a comedy bit about this, and you're like, okay, that's funny.
I've tried. It's
like you could do a
hard to
sketch on it, dude, and it would be the funniest sketch.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know, I'm like, it would just be hilarious. Where I can imagine like some retail Best Buy situation where your coworker just goes like, you shouldn't be speaking Spanish to the clients because you're white, and you're just like, fuck.
I guess not.
Like, okay.
I guess not.
They don't speak English. I'm trying to help, but I guess I'm culturally appropriating now.
The first time someone said that to me, I was like at college, I was taking a class or whatever, and then they told me that afterwards because I got a call from my manager, and I worked at it was technically I didn't work for Peterbilt, but I worked at Peterbilt, like for a different company.
You're a contractor with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody in the company I worked for spoke Spanish. So my boss called me up to speak in Spanish. So I'm just talking to my boss like I normally talk to him. And they're like, you can't do that. I'm like, are you serious right now?
Who said that to you though? Like,
Just
who
some
had
girl
the
at a
gall?
class.
Why? What was her? Because everybody else couldn't understand what you were saying, or was it because you were, as a white person, speaking a different language?
It was after the class. Everybody's leaving. I'm just talking to him on the phone. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm a
so-
white guy speaking a different language. She goes, "You can't speak that. Like, you're not Mexican." And I go, "Actually, I am Mexican."
How the hell do you know? See, that's the thing is like,
How do you know what people
you're
are?
being more goddamn racist by saying that, because I've been to Mexico City.
Yeah.
People look more like you than they look like the darker tone Mexican population that we're more used to here.
Yeah.
Because most people don't understand that darker population doesn't come from Mexico. It's mainly South America.
Yeah.
And they just travel through that region to get here. Ecuador, Colombia, all these other parts that still speak Spanish, but don't look anything like a Mexican person from like mainland Mexico.
Tom Segura has a thing because he speaks Spanish. as
Yeah,
well.
his mom is from where was
Chile,
she?
Peru.
Peru. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah.
she's from Peru, so he speaks fluent Spanish.
He's fluent, yeah. And he has this one where he's like, yeah, if you go to Mexico right now, you'll find an Asian family speaking fluent Spanish, like that's their only language that they can speak. Like, you'd be surprised how diverse area of the country is in this world as well.
I met a guy that was from Iran. His entire family was from Iran. They immigrated to Mexico. And he was like generation 3,
Yeah.
Iranian Mexican. And he's like, I speak Farsi, but like mainly I speak Spanish, and he doesn't look like a Mexican guy. He looks more Iranian than he does Mexican. And you're like, when are we going to get over this idea that like people immigrate to other places too? It's not just the United States.
Yeah.
And that's probably where Segura is going with it,
Yeah.
dude, diversity is everywhere. Just open your fucking eyes.
Have you seen those videos of like the white guys or the Asian people from Jamaica, and they're like speaking the Jamaican language?
Yeah, of course I have.
And they're like, what the heck is this? It's like, no, they're actually from there.
Also, the guys that are like born in parts of Africa.
Yeah.
And they're white, but they're born in Africa, so they have like that Johannesburg or Georgetown accent. They speak English, but it's different a little bit. There's an actual accent that you can pick up on, and people are just like looking at them, going like, "Why? Why are you doing this?"
There's a
They're like,
comedian-
"I'm not doing anything. This is me. You're being the dick right now pretending like I couldn't be from Africa," which is like so stupid.
There's a comedian, Mekki Lieber, and he's kind of blowing up. He's from Morocco, but he looks almost just like me. His glasses, white guy. He talks like me, but everyone thinks that like, oh, his name, because it's an African name, they're like, oh, he's being racist because he changed his name or something. But no, that's his actual name. His parents gave it to him. They're from Africa, from Morocco.
Yeah. There was this other French comedian who was originally from Morocco. He even did a Netflix special here, started blowing up. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. I forgot his name, but he looked white.
Yeah.
And like, he was an older guy, but he was big in France. And so he came over to the United States pre-pandemic, and then pandemic hit, and I don't know what happened to him. But he talked about some of that stuff too, though. Like, you don't get who I am or why I look this way, but I am, like nothing I can do about it. And that was where the funny was like the awkwardness of the crowd almost going like, really?
I feel
Is
like
it
it's
okay
kind of
to laugh with you right now?
I feel like it's kind of more racist to assume that only darker Mexicans are allowed to be in Mexico, and that's it.
That was the whole point of me saying that, is because I feel like that person was being way more racist than you speaking Spanish on the phone.
Exactly.
Their racism comes from a stereotype you have in your head of what I'm supposed to look like.
Exactly.
Seriously?
Exactly.
Where does that work? How does that compute? Like, it doesn't work that way.
I don't ever understand it either.
Yeah. Like, there's a big population of people that look very, very Asian, but they're Russian.
That's true. Actually, we have since I run the esports program, chess is thrown in there.
Yeah.
And we have this kid from Kyrgyzstan, and
There
I
you
didn't know
go.
where that was, but it's like below Russia.
It's all those stands that are.
He speaks Russian, but he looks Asian.
Yeah.
We were like, what the heck, dude?
And there's like a huge population of people like that. Now, are they being racist by speaking their native tongue just looking different? No.
No.
But you are if you assume that they're not supposed to be speaking Russian and you expect some Asian dialect to come out. You're the racist. Somebody's got to start saying this out loud so people just understand.
Yeah.
Reverse racism is worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works.
Exactly.
That's crazy. So it happened twice to you?
It's happened twice, yeah.
So once college, some girl.
The other one was also college, but it was like a different class later on.
So where did you go to college?
I took 1 semester at UNT.
Okay.
So
what was the plan originally? 'Cause you didn't go just for no reason, right?
Yeah. So I work in IT right now. It was gonna be computer stuff. Like I just wanted a degree within something in computers.
Did you have an idea of what you would have done if you had gotten a degree in, like, information systems or computer science?
Same thing I'm doing right now, probably. I kind of loopholed, skipped it almost. I met this guy. His name is Solomon. He ran all the iPhone repair shops, like in the malls. You know the ones in the malls, like in the, not like they don't have their own shops, but like
the kiosks.
The kiosks, exactly.
Okay.
He owned all those from like the Frisco Mall all the way forward. Any Dallas
Wow.
DFW one, he owned it. And I met him.
Shout out Solomon.
Yeah, I met him, and then COVID happened. He lost all that.
Right.
And I met him, and he was like, yeah, so this is what you got to do. And he just showed me, like, I worked with him. He helped me kind of lie on the resume a little bit,
Not lie, embellish.
Embellish, exactly. And he showed me, he's like, you get these certificates, you do this, you do that, and then you're on your way.
Okay.
And so shout out him, he helps really a lot. I was actually talking to him last night because my computer blew up.
Oh, shit. So what does Solomon do now?
He is like running his own company.
Okay.
For trying to like it's a computer insurance company. So like for schools specifically, if they have like, because every kid gets a MacBook or a Chromebook now for school.
Okay. So if it breaks, they fix it?
Exactly.
Interesting.
So if it breaks, if they have the insurance through it, they'll be, oh, we'll fix it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is he getting any luck with that?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's the other thing that I find way more interesting about the world is you meet people, although I have not met Solomon, that find these niches that you didn't even know existed.
Exactly.
My mind would have never been like, oh, they're not just going to do an Apple Care Plus subscription for all the MacBooks they're giving to kids? Apparently, no.
It's cheaper the other way around. Like the Apple Care, if everybody has Apple Care, and Apple is like very specific about what they do. Like,
right.
They only, for their Apple Care, like if you have liquid on it,
you're screwed. Yeah, they don't cover it, right?
But, or if you lose it, they won't do it either. But the insurance companies will. So it's like, it's cheaper. They do more stuff. It's just one of those things.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. That's what I'm like, I don't know. People find these niches. So how long did it take for you to kind of break into the school system and get the job? Because it's coveted, right? Like most people getting into a school district, it's like you can stay there forever. Nobody's going to fire you. Kind of like you're in. Yeah.
So first off, I love my job. That's what makes I want to blow up in comedy, but also I don't because I love my job so much.
Interesting.
But I went to the school.
Okay.
That helped. That helped mixed with Solomon, showing me the ropes, how to do everything and helping me out. It's kind of just like, yeah, I knew the people running it already because I went to school there.
Okay.
I knew all the teachers already. I knew all the campuses. So, I had all the knowledge of, where everything was anyways. So, it's like you're kind of hiring a guy who already knows this place.
Got it.
And as well as having all the certification stuff, help from Solomon and all the years of experience working with him, that all kind of helped out.
So, when the inevitable crossroads happens where you have to decide, blow up in comedy and pursue the dream or continue just your job.
Yeah.
Are you going to be ready for it?
Oh, yeah. I know what I'm going to choose, but it's like a bittersweet. It's like, yeah, I'm definitely going to blow up in comedy, but I kind of would like my job, so it'll be sad.
Right.
It'll be sad I have to leave, all the people that I enjoy hanging out with. My coworkers, I love them. They're great. I love learning all the stuff there. It's daily problem solving. That was my main problem. All the other jobs I had was is ADHD, and I'm kind of, I have to be stimulated in some way for my brain.
Yeah.
And at this job, I'm constantly solving problems or setting something up or doing something. All my other jobs, I was just like, okay, I got 2 hours. I'm just bored.
So yeah, you don't like the remedial work. You like stuff that's dynamic and
yeah.
You really don't know what the day is going to entail. It's
yeah.
pretty much a good reason why you're in comedy because you don't know what your crowd's going to be. You don't know what the stage is. You don't know who the guy before you or gal before you did and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's you found a way to kind of use your. Some would call it a disability, but I don't think of it as a disability. I have ADHD myself, and if you can control it, it's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot you can do with it that others can't.
I feel like if you use it in a certain, because I'm the esports coach, and a lot of the kids have ADHD as well. And I keep telling him, like, if you use it in a certain way, it's a blessing. Like,
Yeah.
you can do so much, but you have to know how to use it. And that's the hard part.
Which I don't think a lot of people do. It takes
they
it
just give
takes
up.
multiple years of fighting with your own brain to figure out how you can control it.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what ADHD is for people that don't know. Is like you don't have control over your own brain. You'll be thinking about that bottle of water, and then for some reason, you'll be thinking about a coal miner that you read about 4 years ago, and you're like, "There's no connection. I don't know why the hell I went there.
I used to.
Like, how do I get back?"
Yeah, because my stepdad, it was a horrible person, molested my sister and everything. He also beat us a lot, and I used to get beat because like we would have group conversations, and then I would just randomly out of nowhere be like, "Yeah, did you know NASA's going up to the moon soon or something like that?" And they'd be like, "Where the hell did that come from?"
Right.
So, it's my brain's constantly moving.
And it's for other people, it's hard to understand. But I know exactly what it's like. You'll be talking about something random, and you'll be like, "But remember that thing?" And da 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 da.
Yeah.
I know exactly where it is, but I think that's also the beauty of the ADHD is like in comedy, especially, you can kind of see multiple angles of the same instance in time and turn it into funny. Where a lot of us will just sit there going like, "Oh, that happened."
I love it because like as I'm going throughout my day, I'll just be like, "Oh, that's actually kind of a funny joke. Let me write that down." It just randomly pops into my head randomly. Oh, that could be funny. Or like we're in a situation and the situation's not funny, but then my brain's like, this would be funny if this happened right now. And I can write a joke or a skit about it or something.
Right. And I think that's kind of cool that your brain almost unconsciously is always kind of like breaking things down and finding different routes.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're like, oh, that would be really funny. How much of that actually translates into funny?
I probably a majority of it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. A lot of it is like serious situations that like, or like a little awkward situations or whatever that I'm like, okay, this could be funny if this happened right now, And then maybe I make a sketch about it, or maybe I make a skit about it, or like I'll be doing something, I'll be like, isn't it weird how this stuff works? Like it's funny enough, I was listening to a podcast and I was like, podcasts are just weird.
Okay.
And the reason I think podcasts are weird is like some people get too far into them. Like I used to work with this guy, he would listen to his podcast out loud. And he would if the questions were asked in the podcast, he would answer them
like, as if he was the guest.
As if he was the guest, exactly.
Huh? Yeah, never gotten that far.
Yeah, they would be like, "Oh, what do you guys think about 4th of July this year?" And he'd be like, "Oh, blah blah blah." Like he would actually answer the question. He'd pause it, answer the question, then see how they answered. And I was like, "That is weird."
I probably would fall into a strange category of podcast listeners. I'm the type of person that'll actually watch it on my TV.
Yeah.
I love laying down watching a podcast.
I don't think there's anything wrong with
I think it's weird inherently.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is watching literally 2 people sit in a room or 3 people sit in a room and just talk. But it's different for me. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something if I don't see the nonverbals.
Oh, okay. So you don't like listening?
No, I love listening to podcasts.
Oh, okay.
Like in my car, I'll be listening to podcasts all the time. But there's certain episodes of certain podcasts where the guest that's on there, I don't want to just listen.
I feel that. Yeah.
I want to see because there's so much more happening between these people that you don't hear.
That's true. Like sometimes you'll have like a podcast and you'll be listening to it and then like just randomly they'll start laughing. You'll be like, okay, I don't know what happened. And then you gotta look at it and someone made like a funny face or something,
Like an example of that is right now, Joe Rogan, Duncan Trussell episode.
Yeah.
I'm watching it. I'm not listening to it. Because the previous ones that I've just listened to and I've gone back and seen clips and stuff, I'm like, shit, I missed so much.
Yeah.
Same thing with when he does Protect Our Parks. Same thing with, let's say, Huberman or Lex Friedman when they bring on certain guests that you really want to hear them speak because they use their hands to explain a lot of things to make it easier, or facial cues kind of give you, I don't know. That's why I watch some podcasts. Mass majority I'll just listen to.
Yeah, I've only watched a couple episodes, but Kill Tony I feel like you have to watch.
Thank you. That one, yeah, I don't listen to Kill Tony ever. I watch it because a lot of the funny happens on the stage.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hilarious, some of the shit that happens that on the stage, like D Madness in the background and
that's
some
exactly
of the stuff
what
he does.
I was thinking of exactly D Madness.
Yeah. The back and forth between Red Band, his soundboard, and Tony and Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
It's just like it's the funniest shit in the world. Where he's just like tapping them away, like, stop it. You have to see these things. It's hilarious when you actually see it.
Exactly.
So I know exactly what you're saying. Same thing I feel like about comedy is like, you know how there used to be comedy albums back in the day?
Yeah.
Like actual CDs and records of comedy. That's how you made money as a comedian, is you sold your albums.
Exactly.
I've listened to a few of them. It's not the same. It's watching it that I actually find the funny in it.
I used to listen to comedy albums like when I was a kid. So I recently started like watching comedy because I was so awkward and I couldn't talk to anybody. And I was like,
who's your inspiration?
Which like getting into comedy?
Like if you had your Mount Rushmore of comedians that influenced you to get into comedy, do they exist?
Yeah. My overall comedian that I love more than anybody is James Acaster.
Okay.
You know who he is?
I don't want to lie and say I do.
He has 4 specials called Repertoire on Netflix. It's really funny. I definitely recommend it. But he kind of like toes the line of like weird and awkward, but still like super funny. And he can talk about like political stuff, but you won't even know he's talking about political stuff until like the end where he's like, oh, this is what this reference is, you know?
Interesting. Okay, I'll check him out.
Yeah. He's very funny. I like him. Dave Chappelle, definitely.
God tier.
Exactly. And Brian Reagan.
Brian Reagan's really funny.
Yeah.
Really funny.
Those are like my top 3. I love those guys.
Yeah, I can see, like, Brian's awesome. I don't know the first guy you talked about, but, I mean, everybody knows Chappelle, obviously.
He's British, if it helps. James Acaster's British.
James Acaster is British. Okay, I'll check him out.
Yeah.
British comedy's funny. I love British comedy because they're drier than we are usually. Mm-hmm. Like, Jack Carr and Eddie Izzard. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Eddie Izzard's hilarious comedian, dude. I love his stuff from back in the day. Like, he was the guy that was cross-dressing and making it funny, and everybody would listen to him, like, way before it was the fashionable thing to do. This was just what this guy was. That was him. Yeah. So, I don't know. He was really good. He still is. But Dave Chappelle, Brian Regan, I can see that. And
Brian Regan was the first comedian I ever saw.
Like on TV live or?
It was originally on YouTube. So like I was like 8 or 9 or whatever, and I just Google. Or
I forget. Like, you're 23, bro. So like it's your post TV generation as you grew up. Like you had the internet at your disposal.
Exactly.
Whereas I had dial up.
It was the very first iteration of YouTube, but it was like I watched it. I remember I watched it, and it was like, oh, this guy's pretty funny. He's talking about like Little League baseball, and I was in Little League baseball at the time. So
okay.
Like, oh, it's relevant. Cool. That's funny. It's just him being stupid, and I thought he was so funny.
So Brian is not my favorite comedian.
Yeah.
But I do respect the genius that he is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll put it to you that way. There are comedians that I respect them for the quality of work that they put on, but they are not my favorite. You know what I mean?
I respect him because he's like, clean comedy is hard to write.
Yeah. Like it's him.
Everything is clean comedy for him.
I can only think of like 3 clean comedians. Him, Jim Gaffigan, and Nate Bargatze. I don't know if there's a 4th I can think of. I don't know who it would be, but I can think of like 3 comedians that are clean.
Exactly. And he was like the original, like I'm 100% clean all the time. And his jokes are just like him being stupid or how stupid he is. And it's for some reason, it's so funny. He knows how to work it perfectly.
And the problem not the problem, but what most people fail to realize, putting in poop, shit, dick, fuck makes things a lot funnier, a lot easier than being completely clean. This is why you don't have that many clean comedians, because it's easier to go down the path of vulgarity or profanity or stuff that's dark and has, undertones of stuff that people don't really feel comfort with until it's funny.
Yeah.
Like Louis C.K., he does references to, child rape all the time.
Exactly.
But he does it in such a fucking funny way that you cannot deny the genius that is him.
There's a difference. It's hard to be clean and it's hard to be overly dirty.
Yeah.
It's easy to do the middle.
I completely agree with you. And that's why the greats are never on the middle. They don't exist in the middle.
Exactly.
Think about it. Chappelle's nowhere near the middle.
No.
George Carlin was never in the middle. Eddie Murphy, not in the middle. Richard Pryor, like the old greats. And currently, if you think about people that are funny, Andrew Schultz.
Yeah.
He's not in the middle. Neither is Gillis. Neither is Norman
Gillis in his
or
special
Morel.
He's talking about like school shootings. Like
he's talking about his sister's heroin addiction and like all this other stuff, and it's hilarious. But it's not anywhere in the middle.
No.
And again, you got Gaffigan and Bargatze. Tom Papa's pretty clean too. He'll throw in shit or poop once in a while, but nothing. He's funny too. I like him.
Yeah.
I don't know. So your top 3 are those guys. What about Chappelle though? What about him? What was it? Because I've met comedians that love Chappelle but don't think of him as inspiration, or don't think of him as like a catalyst for them to really want to become a comedian. Because what he does is so hard.
It is, yeah.
It's stupid hard to have a coherent thought for over an hour that is it's connected together into this one long story, and you're laughing so much, but you don't even understand the jokes half the time.
Yeah.
It just goes over so smooth as part of the story that you're laughing and you didn't even know there was a punchline that happened. It just continues.
Yeah.
I think that's rare. Like, it's hard.
I like him because he does so much. You know, like he did the Chappelle show. That is where I was like, okay, this guy is hilarious. I love the sketch comedy he's doing. And that's mainly one of them is like, this guy could write for anything. He's insanely hilarious.
Have you ever watched In Living Color?
No, I haven't.
So go check out In Living Color. This is Jim Carrey when he's young, the Wayans brothers when they're young, Eddie's on there a couple of times. Like, this is back in the day, like 80s and 90s sketch comedy.
Yeah.
You watch it. Like, it's still funny as hell today. It's so funny. And you will see how possibly certain comedians that you love got their inspiration. Because In Living Color was like up there with SNL and all these other sketch comedy shows for a good period of time.
My favorite thing to do recently is watch new open micers. Because every single new person, they break, like, in my opinion, like all the rules for open mics.
So what are the rules?
So the rules are, don't do anybody else's joke. Right?
Okay.
Don't just someone told me after like 3 open mics, whatever, they were like, just stop trying to be a comedian. Right. And so people will go up there and they'll try and do like a Dave Chappelle show sketch, right? Or not sketch, like a stand up. Where they go there and they try and talk about one topic for like 15 minutes and they try to make every little punchline in there and make it as funny as possible. And it doesn't work because they don't have the experience of actually writing jokes, right? And then they try to do crowd work and they address it like, oh, this isn't working. I'm going to try crowd work. And then that's just like a break rule because it's like, oh, okay, well, you know you're bad and you're just going to try and bring other people into saying you're bad or whatever. And then what was the other one? Oh, yeah, saying sometimes the new ones they'll like tell a joke and they'll be like, well, this worked last week, you know?
After it doesn't work.
Yeah, after it doesn't work.
Like,
oh, you guys suck. It's worked last week or something like that.
No, you suck.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. But a joke is funny when everybody laughs all the time. That's what a good joke is. That's what actually gets put into what will eventually become your 30 and your hour and all this stuff. The throwaway shit that worked at this club didn't work 7 times at another club and then barely worked the 8th time. You don't use it.
Exactly.
You should reword it and figure out a different way of approaching said joke because maybe it's not meant to be.
Exactly.
But I get what you're saying on that end. So that's your new thing, watching like new stand-ups.
We're at these open mics until like 1 a.m. most of the nights. My friend Bryce, he hosts a lot of these open mics.
Okay.
Because he works at the clubs. And so we just hang out with him because he's super funny when he hosts. And he's really good at like bringing the crowd back and just making everybody laugh by being kind of awkward or whatever. So he's just super funny, just sit and watch. And so we'll constantly see these open micers. And it's so funny watching someone for their first time go up because you can kind of see who they're seeing. Like the other day we saw this guy go up and he only had 3 minutes, but he was trying to do this super long story that's maybe like 10 minutes long or whatever.
He didn't have the time for it.
Yeah, he didn't have the time. So like at the end of it, he was just like, y'all will get part 2 next week. Like we're like, okay, you don't have the time for that. And then we could tell like, oh, this guy is just like Richard Pryor. Like he is trying to be so much like him. It's ridiculous. Like we can see it. And it's not that he was like funny like Richard Pryor, but you can see he was like trying to just rip the style off Richard Pryor.
He was pretending to be Richard Pryor.
Well, you can see that like he built his set
around Pryor.
Around exactly what Pryor does. And we could just tell it. Like I would be like, if Richard Pryor went up on stage and said stuff like this, obviously it'd be funnier because he would do it in a slightly different way. But I could see him totally doing that. And
is that standard as comedians that are just coming up to imitate until you find your own voice?
It happens more often than you think. I don't think I did it like that. Maybe I did.
Okay.
But you can definitely see whenever people are doing, they're up there for like the first couple times, you can kind of see yourself in it almost. Like asking, like, being like, oh, this isn't working or it worked somewhere else. I did that, right?
Okay.
Shouldn't have said it, shouldn't have done it, but that was one mistake, and I learned, So you're seeing these people progress eventually, but it's always fun to see it at the beginning because you're like, oh, they broke that rule.
Which, I mean, the people that don't think they make mistakes are the ones making all the mistakes.
Exactly.
I think the creative arts, you have to be humble for a very, very long time until others say, "Hey, dude, you're really, really good," or the numbers speak for themselves, kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, is like when you are out with your friends and you guys see all these open micers, is that still there, that humbleness of, trying to, or is it a bunch of cocky people that suck coming up on stage?
There's a mix. So like if somebody that we genuinely think is funny, and it's like their first couple tries or whatever, we'll go up to them and be like, "Hey man, you did really good. You should come to this other one with us next week."
Okay.
We try to get people like who we think are good, hey, to kind of be our friends almost, because you want to surround yourself with like good people.
Right.
And all the other people, like, it seems like they're super cocky. I'm not going to call him out, but there's one guy I think of, and he's at the same mic every single week. He does the exact same set. It's the only mic he does, and no one ever likes it. Like, he's always saying, like outlandish, just racist stuff, and no one ever likes it.
Is he allowed to?
Yeah.
He's in the race that allows to
No.
make fun of other races?
No, he's not.
Okay.
But like the bar's like, yeah, do it, whatever, because they don't want to like kick him out and make him stop, because then they'll have to start policing everybody else's.
Right.
But they're just like, all right, whatever. He's only up there for a couple minutes, so he usually comes up early, leaves. But I tell you, he tries to do a bunch of different stuff sometimes. Like one time, he came up and just threw glow sticks, and we were on the other side of the bar just drinking, and the glow sticks hit my friend in the back of the head. He's like, "What the hell, dude?" It's just a bunch of random stuff, but he's constantly like, he's not progressing or anything, so we don't go up to him and tell him like he's great or anything. We don't say he's bad.
But he thinks he's the shit.
Yeah, he thinks he's the shit. Like, he gets upset if people don't start. Like, if people don't pay attention to him, if people don't listen to him, people don't laugh at his jokes. Like, he visibly gets upset on stage.
Sorry, buddy, you're not cut out for this shit.
Exactly.
You're not. The number one rule of comedy is self-deprecation, and if you're not gonna allow yourself to feel when you're shit, you're never gonna progress and get better.
Yeah.
If you feel like the crowd was wrong and you were not wrong, you're always gonna suck. Because you got to remember one thing: the crowd is always right, especially in a comedy show.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare where, like, I've never witnessed it. I always sit in the back of the clubs. I've never seen a club where the person is really funny, and it's really a really funny comedian when the other comedians are laughing.
Exactly.
That's the barometer for me. Like, when I go to a comedy club, I always ask to sit in the back near the comedians, because when they start laughing, it's funny. And I've never been in a crowd where the comedians are laughing in the back and the crowd isn't.
Exactly.
It just never happens. But
Exactly.
I've been in situations where the crowd isn't laughing and the comedians, you can kind of see they don't want to say this guy's shit out loud.
Yeah.
But you can hear the murmurs and you can hear them talking amongst themselves of like, this guy's not it. You know what I mean?
Comedians are hard to make laugh. Like,
yeah, I know.
Very rarely have I ever made a group of comics laugh at like an open mic night. If there's like no crowd there, it's almost impossible. Like, no matter how good your joke is, it's almost impossible. What you'll get though is afterwards they'll come up to you and be like, "Dude, you did really well. I like these jokes." Sometimes they'll be like, "Hey man, maybe try like this next time."
Right.
And that's
so they'll
always
give
the
you a
best.
point or a tip.
Yeah, that's always the best.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping comedians are open to criticism, constructive criticisms from their peers.
Yeah.
It's different when some douchebag comes up to you after the show and is like, it'd be funnier if you did this. No, it wouldn't, because you should be up there doing it if you think it is. But others that are comedians, it's different. It's your tribe. It's your peer group. Like, they're trying just as hard as you are to make it.
Yeah.
So their opinion can and should matter in certain circumstances.
I think whenever like another comedian gives you like a little bit of criticism and they're if they're like, "Hey, it might be funny to try like this."
Right.
Try it. Because it might actually work. What's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? You bomb one set, you bomb like 10 sets a week anyways. So,
well, for people that have apprehensions about stuff, I always say one thing. Brett Kreischer is Brett Kreischer because Joe Rogan told him to do the Machine story.
Yeah.
He was a good comedian.
Yeah.
No one's denying that he was a good comedian. But what turned him into superstardom is the Machine story.
Yeah.
And Joe told him to do it. Like a fellow peer, a comedian told him, hey, dude, this is really funny. You should say it on stage. And that's the genesis of that.
Yeah.
So, like, take it, because you don't know who's giving you that item that you just can't see because you're not objective. You're subjective, you know? Like, you have your own opinions of your own stuff.
Yeah.
But someone may see something that you've never realized.
Yeah. So, like, my friends, we always help each other out. And there's been a couple times where I try and tell my friend, hey, mate, maybe try it like this, you know, like, and they're like, well, I don't know, man. I like how it is right now. I'm like, try it once for me. Okay. Just one time. If it doesn't go well, I won't bug you about it ever again. And the most recent time was actually like a couple weeks ago. My friend Kenny, I told him to do a joke or like add on to the joke, like a little tagline at the end. And he tried it and he goes, like, he paused like in the middle of the set. He goes, sorry, Chandler, that one actually worked. Like, he's like pointed me out. And I was like, oh, dude, you're on set. Like, go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
right. But I think that's funnier.
Yeah.
I think that's actually hilarious that he just stopped middle of a set as it worked and was like, by the way, that worked.
Yeah.
It's hilarious to me. I love that.
So like whenever I was on Kill Tony, that's when I paused. Is because they told me something didn't work, but they told me something didn't work 10 minutes before I went up.
Okay.
Like while we were outside in the line. And so I was like, I think it works, guys. And then I went up on stage and the one specific
Which one was it?
is the one part of my ugly joke where
So in the beginning
go,
you did the ugly joke, right?
Yeah.
Like something about I'm ugly, or you literally say I'm ugly, right? At some point, and then it goes into the actual joke.
Yeah, I go I'm ugly, and then I pause for a second. I'm like, don't all disagree at once.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
I thought, and that's where you started getting your first inclinations of laughs.
Yeah.
And then from there, it kind of just blossomed. It was awesome to watch after that point, because I think that was the second or third joke you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, I almost, when I was watching it, I was going like, man, this guy felt like he was about to lose the crowd and then did something and got him completely back and then killed.
Yeah.
That was my opinion of you. And
Yeah.
it still is. Like, I rewatched it today before you came in, and I was like, he literally did that.
Yeah.
He
A lot of people
pivoted right on the spot.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, you recovered really well.
Yeah. You recovered to the point where someone that isn't overanalyzing it like my dumbass was would have never known.
Exactly.
They would have just been like, oh, cool, this guy was really funny.
Exactly.
Because nobody's going to remember the first joke you did if the rest of it is funny. Nobody cares.
Exactly. I think I recovered pretty well, but like the pause where I go like, oh, fuck. Like that was in the back of my head because I had argued with my friends. Like,
right.
That joke is killer. The part where I go, oh, don't all disagree at once. I was like, that's funny. And they were like, it's not as funny as you think it is. And then the crowd was like, eh. And I was like, oh, fuck. They were right. Like that was in my head. I was like, oh, fuck. And I said it out loud. I didn't even realize I said it out loud at first. And then I just went on to my next joke. They
were right and they were wrong at the same time, and I'll tell you why. It was very situational for that. And again, in my opinion, not a comedian, just some dude.
Yeah.
I think that joke would be a really funny joke in an instance where you got no laughs on the first one.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, don't all of you disagree with me at once? Kind of like that would make the funny happen. But if people respond to the first one and start laughing with you, then that doesn't really work, I guess.
Yeah.
But in this instance, I'm telling you, if you go back and rewatch that episode, it starts the laughs.
It does. It starts like a little bit, but
yes, you hear the murmur of laughs.
I was wanting more, and it was one of those things. I was like,
yeah,
oh,
but you remember, right. You could have had a set that would have gone completely different.
Yeah.
And not like this podcast matters to the world at the moment, but I would have never found you, we would have never had this conversation.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, I remember that thing of the start of the laughs. And it's kind of like a steam engine on a train. Like the very doesn't really mean much, but like you got it to move. And then once it starts going, it's going. That's what was the feeling for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, I like this guy. And I remember I even probably sent you a message the night that you were on the episode. And I was like, dude, you're really funny.
Yeah.
I think I still have the Instagram message I sent you.
Yeah.
And then I was just like tracking you for a while. Because I was just like, I wonder what he's going to be doing. And then I didn't see you really posting shit on your Instagram.
I wanted to, but it's kind of like that thing where you go and you record this stuff. Like I've recorded a ton of stuff, and I watch it back, and I'm like, that's not worthy of Instagram, right? Where it's funny in the moment, but like I feel like it could
I don't
be
think
better.
That's how it works.
And I want it to be better before I post that specific joke.
I don't think that's how it works, man. You got to post. And you got to post often, and it's not coming from me as some big YouTube person. I'm a zero, but like if you listen to, and the biggest of them all is Mr. Beast, and the way he talks about it is like, never stop posting.
Yeah.
It's gonna suck in the beginning. It's gonna suck for years possibly, but never stop posting because you will eventually find your path.
Well, I have an older sister who has like almost 200K on TikTok now.
Nice.
And she's constant. She's like, listen, a lot of your videos, most of your videos aren't going to pop off. But it's going to be like every 5th video that's going to pop off. And you just have to post until you get that 5th video.
Yeah.
And I'm this Saturday, we're going to be doing a show. And I'm going to record the whole thing. And I'm going to chop it up in probably like 5-6 posts. And try and do it again the next week.
And you never know, like, you may put it on TikTok and nothing happens, but Instagram and YouTube Reels may pick it up and you start trending.
That's how it is.
It's like, it's weird how one algorithm likes you and the other doesn't. You never know.
Instagram loved my Kill Tony set. TikTok fucking hated that shit. And then on TikTok, they loved a set I did at DCC, and then Instagram fucking hated that shit. Like, look at the views.
Which could be has nothing to do with you. It could be TikTok doesn't like Kill Tony.
It could be it, yeah.
It's very possible.
Yeah, it could be
like... You have no idea.
Exactly.
Because, I don't know, he was mean to an Asian comedian once. Maybe he's not...
They probably just banned the hashtag or whatever.
Something. God knows what stupidity is in the background that we know nothing about.
Yeah.
But
Instagram, it popped off. Like, like 30,000 views, like almost 3K likes, I'm pretty sure. Something like that. Like, it was crazy for like 50 followers.
And that's the thing is, like, on top of that, you need to keep posting.
Yeah. For
those 30,000 that liked or saw it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll see more.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll give them a reason to like subscribe and start following you.
That's the plan.
You'll get there, man. Like, I mean, you're said since September you've been serious about stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Do you see it as the future for you? Like, is this what you're dedicating your life to right now?
Yeah, I guess right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see it.
Are you all in or not yet?
Pretty much all in. I mean, I still have a full-time job, but
I'm not saying it that way. What I mean all in as in like you want to do this more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stand-up comedy is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like my typical week is there's usually mics going on every single night.
Yeah.
So my typical week is like on Saturdays, that's when my girlfriend gets her schedule.
Okay.
I text her what days you have off this week, and she only has like 1 or 2 days off max. And I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to do mics on those days.
So you can hang out with her.
Every other mic I'm doing. And if I have a show and it's on a day she has off, I'm like, all right, go hang out with your friends. I'm doing the show,
Do you record every mic?
Not every mic. I probably should, but I do record the good ones.
How do you know it's going to be good?
Based on the place. Like there's a bunch of places where it's like people hate you there. Like they don't want comedy to be there. The owners don't want comedy to be there, but they just signed like an 8-week contract. The open mic couldn't be there at the bar. You can by going up, like no one's gonna laugh at you. They're gonna yell at you for being too loud or whatever. Like I've seen like people throw stuff at other people, like just a bar goer like throw some food at a comedian, and no one's laughing the whole time, but you still go because if you do get them to laugh, then you're like, oh shit, this joke's very funny. Yeah,
so because they're not a comedy crowd, and to actually get them to laugh is a big deal.
Exactly.
I get it. That makes sense.
But I should record like the club mics because the club mics are like, if you're at a comedy club, you should be expecting to laugh.
Yeah, because that's what I'm there for.
Exactly.
Although, I see people go to comedy clubs and sit there and just like everybody's laughing. Everyone is laughing, and they're just sitting there being an asshole because they don't like the joke or they don't think the comedian is being sensitive or some bullshit like that. Like I was at Ari Shafir's show here. I think he was at, was it Hyenas or Addison? I don't remember.
I think it was Addison.
Addison.
I think my friend went to that.
Yeah. I was at the show and he killed. I mean, it's Ari. Like he murdered the entire. And this is like a week after I saw his special Jew. And not a single moment of that special came up in the entire hour he did. Yeah. Like a couple of weeks later. And everybody's laughing. Everybody's crying. Like he did stuff about getting a dog and his girlfriend. And pretty much stuff that's funny. Post-COVID, all this. And there was like 3 people I saw it in different tables. And every single one, I don't care actually, was an overweight white girl. Yeah. Who wasn't finding his stuff funny.
Exactly.
And literally just arms crossed, sitting there like hating every moment. And it was to the point where the other people in her group or hers, there was multiple of them, were like, they're all laughing. And you're the only one sitting in your group of friends ruining your friend's night. You're not ruining my night. I don't care. I'm laughing at you because you're a moron. Like, why'd you come to a comedy club if this was your attitude? Did you not know who you were going to see?
Yeah.
You can't pretend like you don't know who Ari Shafir is.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's not some open micer. Like, you
Yeah.
paid money to see him. And that's what I don't like about certain parts of comedy clubs is like, you go there almost like to hate. It's like there's a crowd of people that exist nowadays that go to comedy clubs to heckle, to say stupid shit, to ruin a show. And I don't know where it's coming from.
I've had people tell me that, like, oh, you do open mics after work or whatever. You should let me know, and then that way I'll go there and I'll just heckle you. And I'm like, why would I want to let you know then if you're just going to go there and heckle me? Like, and they're like, that's what we used to do back in the day, get drunk and go heckle open micers that want to be comedians. I'm like, okay, 30 years ago maybe, but like, you're just a piece of shit for doing that.
Yeah, you've not evolved at all as a human being. If anything, you've devolved.
Yeah.
Because
I remember one guy told me this. I worked with him, and he was like in his 60s or whatever, and he had just had a stroke.
Okay.
And he just recovered from it, and it was like 2 months afterwards, and he finally comes back to work, and he finds out I'm doing the open mics, and he's the guy who says it. He's like, yeah, let me know, and I'll heckle you. And I'm like, dude, that'll be the easiest heckle back. I'll just be like, you look like you just had a stroke.
And you did.
And everybody fucking laughed, and then I'll at the workplace, and then I'll be like, it'll be even funnier because whenever I say that to you, I'll have to be like, no, I know this guy, and he actually I'm just bullying an old man, like.
Right, exactly. And which makes it funnier.
Yeah.
Like the people in the crowd like me that are like the dark shit, they're like, yeah, that's funnier.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of my brain that automatically knows that if he's making fun of an old guy for having a stroke, that guy's a dick. Not the comedian, but the guy being made fun of is a dick.
Yeah.
Because most of us have the empathy to not to do it, you know? Like,
oh, yeah.
You
100%.
won't.
100%.
The funny most of the time is there because the guy didn't have a stroke and looks like he did.
Yeah.
If he actually did and the
If he
person made
actually
fun,
did.
you're a piece of shit, dude.
Yeah.
You should be made fun of.
Yeah.
Like, you did something fucked up in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one comedian, he's talking about like how he just laid into his friend who was in a wheelchair.
Right.
And the whole crowd was like upset about it. Like you should really stop laying into him. But he's like, no. At the end, he's like, no, actually, that's my friend. Like, we're like best friends. So just making fun of him because he wanted me to. It's his birthday or whatever.
Yeah, he wants to get roasted by me or whatever, you know, like.
Yeah. But he constantly I don't think him telling the story is funny, but I can imagine in the moment it'd be hilarious.
The wheelchair stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's just like laying into this guy. So it's clever jokes too, but he always retells a story as a set, and I don't think the retelling's that funny.
No, I think you need the live person there, and you
Yeah.
kind of need the setup of. I think the friend being there again. It comes to like nonverbal cues of he will always give off a dynamic of he's in on it to a certain degree. You know, like he's laughing as he's being made fun of. So there's an ease in the crowd versus a tension of the missing wheelchair and the person in it.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes out the heaviness of it when the person's there laughing at what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's other comedians that handicapped comedians that make fun of handicapped communities in very smart and eloquent ways that you can't help but laugh because the person doing it is part of the team.
Yeah.
They're allowed, and you're allowed to laugh with it because we all understand it sucks, but at some point, can we find the humor in it? Yeah. I think that's where that situation is completely where it's like you have to have the handicapped person there.
Yeah.
It makes or breaks the entire bit.
I love calling myself ugly because that just shouts. I mean,
would you understand you're not an ugly person?
No,
right?
I don't
like
think
you
I
kind
don't
of
think
have
I'm
to
ugly.
understand that.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm not saying you're Brad Pitt, neither am I, but you're not ugly. Like you know what ugly looks like.
I used to be like incredibly ugly, and I know this for a fact because my 9th grade year, I was in theater class, and my teacher like he was doing like love scenes, so everybody was partnered up boy girl.
Right.
And he goes, he's like, you, just like randomly. And he goes, Emily, Chandler. And then as soon as he said Chandler, she starts crying. Like,
oh, God.
Bawling, crying. And I was like, it made me look like, because it was like the second day of school or some shit. And it made me look like I murdered her dog or some shit. Like it was like fucked up. And she just starts bawling, crying. And I'm like, what? I didn't do nothing. Like I've never talked to this girl in my life. I didn't do nothing. And she like crying so hard. Like she goes to the bathroom. All the girls go in there, and afterwards they come back and they tell the teacher like, you can't match her with him. Like she can't stop crying. And so I had to do like a project with my friend Tanner, and he had to play the woman. I mean, he's like, I'm not gonna make you play the woman and get embarrassed like that,
right?
Because some girl thinks you're too ugly to be her partner in like a love scene. Like, So I know for a fact that I was ugly, like super ugly at one point where I would just make a girl cry.
Or did you have that because of one person's opinion of you?
Well, it was a ton of stuff like that. Like
Okay.
there was when I was in elementary school, kids would come up to me and be like, or you would think it would, I don't even know how to describe it. Kids said I had Chandler-itis and refused to be close to me.
Okay.
Because they thought my ugly would rub off on them. And you would think, oh, that lasted like a week. It lasted 2 years.
Yeah, you're meant for comedy, my friend. You're meant for it. But there's like an entire 30 minutes in that right there somewhere.
And kids would also, whenever people started first getting phones, they would make their screensaver, like the broken screensaver, like their phone's broken.
Yeah. I remember that shit.
They'd be like, let's take a picture together. And they pull up the camera, and then they'd lock their phone and unlock it real fast. And so it'd show the screensaver, and it'd be like, oh, you broke my phone, asshole.
Oh, God.
Like, I was like it was like multiple people would do that to me.
I find the funny in it now.
Yeah.
Because we were all jackass kids at some point.
Yeah.
I got made fun of and for various different things. And
I think it's hilarious. I didn't like it at first. I didn't like it like when people were dumb, like, all right, guys, come on, be original, you know?
Yeah.
That's what mainly obsessed about me is like whenever people do make fun of me, I hear the same stuff.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I actually enjoy, like I was telling my friends this, whenever I was on Kill Tony, I really enjoyed it because they were making fun of me. Like just a couple comments.
Creative new ways, though.
But I've never heard those before in my life. I was like, that's funny. I like it. It's new.
Yeah. I see that. I can understand that where you're just your mind as a comedian is going like, come on, bro, fresh material. Let's go. Let's do this. Well, what's going on here? I've been called ugly, like a duck 45,000 times before. Don't do this again. Creative. Be something.
Be something new. You know?
I get it.
I always love it when people like come up with new stuff, but very rarely do I hear it.
Because it's interesting. Because you're like, oh, dude, you have a take on this whole thing that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
Granted, nobody gets to call you ugly anymore because you just look like every other normal person. You know what I mean?
I look pretty normal now.
Yeah. Again, we're not GQ models, but you're normal. You know? You got a girlfriend, okay?
I do got a girlfriend. Yeah.
It's been how long?
A while. I don't know. November, maybe.
There you go. So, you've got somebody that likes you enough to be hanging around longer than one date.
Yeah, she hates the ugly jokes. She absolutely hates them.
She doesn't agree with them, huh?
Yeah, she's like, you're not ugly. I don't know why you keep saying you are.
Well, because it's a personal offense to her.
Yeah.
Because she chose you, right?
Yeah, she chose the ugly motherfucker.
But that's the thing is like guys never make the choice. The girl always makes the choice.
My mom said that. So like my mom saw the Kill Tony stuff, and she's she called me up and she's like, I can't believe you called yourself ugly on stage because you're making me sound ugly. And I was like, that's your problem with that, Mom? Not like my self-esteem or nothing. It's that you think everybody's gonna think you're ugly.
That's the funniest shit in the world. That's a joke right there.
I've been trying to work
That's
it out.
That's hilarious, dude. Like that has got to be the most selfish shit I've ever heard.
My mom has said a ton of stuff like that.
That's hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's really funny shit to get a call from your mom going like, why you call yourself ugly? You're making me feel bad. Like, to that effect. And then you're like, what the fuck?
She's like, everybody's going to think I'm ugly. Do you think your mother's ugly? I'm like, what? How did this conversation happen? Mom? I don't even know how we got here.
That's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Like how we got to this point doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But like your girlfriend and your mom have the same opinion, I think, of like you're making them look bad by making the ugly jokes.
Yeah,
just in completely different forms, like birth and choice.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious. You should combine it together, like they're best friends now because of this joke or something.
Yeah.
No, I love it. That's really, really cool. That's really funny. So after the Kill Tony, what was did you feel like cloud nine? I killed it, or was there like, what was the emotion? Did something come over you? Because it's Kill Tony, like you've seen 8 years of other people just fuck it up. Yeah, completely.
I thought I fucked it up.
Did you really?
Yeah. So like I went up after the show was over. Tony himself came up to like me and my group of friends, and he's like, "Yo, you killed it. You did really great." I made fun of my other friend for looking like a Down syndrome Peyton Manning, is what he said. That was I enjoyed that part. I was like, finally, someone else not making fun of me. That's great. But he's like, yeah, you did really good. Blah blah blah. And I didn't believe him. Because the oh fuck moment, like during it when I go oh fuck, like a lot of people told me to cut that out of the Instagram story, but I'm like, no, leave it. That's what happened. I want to show. I don't want to cut it and be like, oh, this is not what happened. This is what happened.
It's even better that way.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I screwed up, but I still killed.
Yeah.
That's skill.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, look, it looks amazing from beginning to end. You know what I mean? Like, it's better this way.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted it to be real. Like, this is...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
This is exactly what I did. I didn't fake nothing. I did it exactly this way, and this is how it's going to be. But there's 2 weeks from whenever it's filmed versus when it comes out.
Yes, that I know of.
Yeah, and I was so nervous for that 2 weeks. Like, I didn't tell anybody I was on it. My friends did, so I was getting like occasional messages like from 1 or 2 people, like, "Hey, heard you were on it. Did you do good?" And I was like, "You'll see." Like, I didn't want to tell people I did good because I didn't know I did good or anything. And so, and I found out I didn't know because I had only watched 1 episode going up to it. I didn't know like the joke book or whatever that I got.
Yeah,
was like an honor. I didn't know that was.
You got the big one, right?
Yeah, I got the big one.
Yeah, that means he found you funny.
I didn't know that was a thing.
You were literally 1 step shy of being invited for the secret show Thursday.
Really?
Well, I mean, as an observer of the Kill Tony show, there's this progression that happens. It's you kill, your interview goes good.
Yeah.
And if they think that you've got more in you, you get a big joke book. That means like you're on your way. Little joke book means there's a spark somewhere. At least this is what I've ascertained is there's a spark of something here. It's like, keep doing it. Big joke book is put on your big boy pants, work harder than you've ever worked because you can actually be something.
Yeah.
Is my opinion of the big joke book.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a reason it's a big joke book. And then if you already are there, then they'll invite you to the Thursday Secret Show. And it's rare. They don't do it for most comedians that go up there. You know what I mean? Like, it's seriously like every episode, maybe one person. Some episodes, nobody ever gets invited.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on mine.
On your episode, I don't remember anybody getting invited onto it.
Did.
But like there's, you know, at least 2 people a month I see get invited to the Secret Show because they're that good.
Yeah. I definitely think...
Which don't feel bad if you're just not there yet. Like
yeah.
It means you're 1 step behind that.
Yeah.
It's not a bad place to be, 8 months into this.
Yeah.
It's great. Most people that worked years don't get a big Kill Tony joke book.
What really upset me, though, is on the drive back, I thought of so much funnier jokes like that. Like the Martin Luther King Jr. joke, I wrote that on the drive back. And I was like, that would have been so funny to have.
You just got to go sign up again.
Yeah, we're planning on it.
When are you guys planning on doing it?
Definitely July, obviously.
Yeah.
But we wanted to go in like a weekend, but it's about getting everybody's weekends lined up.
Plus, it's no longer at the Vulcan.
Yeah.
You'd be at the Comedy Mothership.
Yeah, like they just swapped it.
Okay. So how does it work going back to the whole post-Kill Tony? So after the show ends, I didn't know the comedians that were on stage get to like hang out and meet
they
Tony
have an after
and
party.
Stuff like that.
They have an after party. Everybody gets to hang out.
So whoever was invited up?
No, everybody. Literally all the comedians, all the crowd, everybody, they all throw this huge party or whatever.
Okay.
But Tony makes his way, like with a kind of a crowd of people. He makes his way through the entire crowd, trying to meet everybody in the crowd and trying to meet all the comics. And he came up to us. We were just sitting there eating like fried rice that we got from like a food truck like right next door.
Nice.
And he talked to us for like 5 minutes, offered to smoke some weed with us, and then kind of walked away. We're like, all right, cool.
So on stage persona versus off stage persona?
He was much shorter than I thought he would be.
Okay.
That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, really? I thought he was super tall. But yeah, no, he's super nice. Like he is incredibly nice, and that blew me away. Like he made fun of Bryce, but that's because I asked him a question. We were arguing on the drive there, like which one of us looked the best, and all of them like were like, oh yeah, Chandler's the ugliest.
Right.
But we all kind of agreed that like Bryce was the most handsome. He's tall. He has a nice jaw, like beard or whatever.
Plus his name is Bryce. I mean, come on.
We asked him, we're like, who do you think is the most handsome out of us? And he's like, well, definitely not this motherfucker. And he picks out Bryce. And he's like, he looks like a Down syndrome Peyton Manning. And we're like, oh, dude, that shit's funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Tony Hinchcliffe is like his off the cuff stuff. Just like crazy.
Yeah.
Watching him and David Lucas every week go back and forth roasting each other is probably the funniest thing in the world to me.
Yeah.
I can watch it for hours.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious. And it's every week for like years now. They come up with new stuff.
Yeah.
Every single week. I'm like, how do you not run out? What? How?
I don't know.
So that's what happens post Tony, huh?
Yeah. Then we talk to.
They hang out with you guys and just like say hi to all the people in the crowd.
Yeah, everybody on stage as well. Like we got to talk to Hans Kim for like 30 minutes.
Nice.
He was high as fuck.
He seems like a nice dude.
He was a nice guy, but we could tell he was trying to work out material with us.
Oh,
which
really?
was cool, but like he was talking about like how I don't know if he ever did this stuff, but he was talking about like how weird haircuts are. Like you're just trusting this person to do like an art form on your head.
Not that I've heard on Kill Tony for his minute bits, but I mean, he's all over the country touring, selling out. So it may have come up somewhere.
Yeah, like we were talking to him. He went on for like 15 minutes about like how strange it is, and I could kind of tell like, oh, he's trying to work this out to see if it's funny.
I think that's kind of cool though.
Yeah,
kind of get to see how the mind of another artist works.
Yeah.
Especially one that's leaps and bounds beyond just doing open mics and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's headlining his own shows. He's doing arena tours with huge names, and it's crazy to get to that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it would be like interesting to kind of hang out and
that's why we
fly
hung
on the
around
wall.
Him. That's why we hung around him. Like if it was like an open micer coming up doing that to us, we'd probably be like, all right, bro, like,
Did you guys get to talk to William Montgomery and stuff? Or
No.
David Lucas?
We didn't see them. I think they went. Apparently, there's like a different room in the area that is blocked off where they hide like a green room.
Yeah, the upstairs green room that they talk
Yeah.
about it all the time on the show.
I'm sure they went up there, but Hans and Tony were like walking around.
Red Band wasn't there?
No.
Ah, interesting. I thought Red Band would be all in the crowd, just hanging out with everybody. He seems just like this fun-loving, happy dude.
Yeah, the owner was walking around, which we got to meet the owner of the Vulcan Gas Company.
And the
That's
Vulcan
pretty cool.
Gas Company, was it a comedy club from its inception, or is it kind of being used as one right now?
I think it's being used as one. I don't think it is one.
Okay.
I think it's like a music venue because it has a bar, stage, upstairs, or whatever.
Yeah.
But like he came up to us and he was like, "Hey, do you guys want to take pictures on the stage before we take it all down?" And I wasn't really about it. I was like, I just want to go to a hotel room and sleep. Like this is too much of a night for me,
Yeah, you're just too high on all the stuff that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. I was like, I needed to wake up because it's a dream or something.
It's not a dream, my friend. You made it.
Apparently.
You made it on Kill Tony, and then I saw you, and we just had this amazing 2.5 hour conversation.
Yeah.
I think we should end it on that note of what a dream to
Why
be on
not?
Kill
Yeah.
Tony. Yeah, that's a beautiful ending. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep following you on your comedy progress, and hopefully I will progress too, and we can sit down another time and talk about what's happening new.
Definitely. Sounds fun.
So check out Chandler Valencia on his Instagram. What is it?
The Chandler Valencia.
The Chandler Valencia on his Instagram. I promise he's gonna start doing more and posting more shit. And TikTok?
Yeah, it's just Chandler Valencia.
So Chandler Valencia, TikTok, Instagram, all the social medias that you find him on. Chandler, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
You too.